Okay. I before I introduce our co-host, we will not be talking about the Chargers game. Justin Herbert is still not good in the playoffs, and the Chargers offensive line doesn't know what to do. We will not be talking about the game we just watched. That was one of the worst playoff games I've ever seen. And as Scoop said, I'll repeat this for you, my friend, Mike Tomlin might have hurt his job even more. Yeah, and then the Patriots, Steelers, don't care. Don't care. Patriots are going to win. So we're going to skip that right off the bat. And to introduce the group, Scoop, Shane, Brandon, and myself, we have two fans in here that are very excited to blow a gasket for 20 minutes. Very excited for that. And rightfully so. Shane's going to drop a play about this team once again. Probably the most apropos thing to finish the season with this awful coaching staff. Before we do all that, because we started a little bit early, I have the networks for the wildcard game. You will never guess who got jibbed again. It's pretty great. Here's our schedule. Saturday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern on CBS. Bills at Broncos. 8 o'clock Eastern on Fox. Niners Seahawks. Sunday on ESPN. Sorry, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. You get the Texans again.
Oh, my God.
Against the Patriots. And then to finish off our week, we'll be going live, thankfully, after Rams Bears. There we go, on NBC. That's 3 o'clock Eastern and 6:30 on Sunday, so we'll have an early start. ESPN got jibbed again. I think they also have the last pick, so sorry, guys. Yikes. With that being said, I would like to send a plea to Mr. Tony Romo to start the show. I would like to send a plea to him and CBS because this needs to be fixed. First, I need to go over some Tony Romo history. And the rest of the group can chime in wherever you want. So I remember the first couple years of Tony Romo, he was really good, and he would always have this gimmick about, like, oh, he knows what play is being called and everything. So what happened was after a couple years, it got really tiring because it was just like, oh, this is too much. It's like every few plays. It's so annoying. Well, what I heard from the rumor mill at that time was that CBS executives went to his house and told him to stop doing it. And so he did. He's been okay the last few years. And one of the problems I've had with Tony Romo that I think was exacerbated last night is I don't think he's ever understood the job description of a color commentator. I know this sounds kind of evil, but stick with me here. So the CBS has the well, I'll be honest. I love CBS. I love everything that CBS does, and so for me to say this kind of hurts, even though I think their audience is a bit older, which I don't really love. But anyway, but JJ Watt is great, right? JJ is fantastic, and I'll get to why that is. I think that Tony Romo thinks that his job description is just to watch AFC teams and or the only teams that he's watching for that week. I don't think he watches any other football. I don't think he cares. He literally went on air and said Carolina was the favorite yesterday. Carolina was a plus 10.5, not a favorite, an underdog, and he comes on air and says Carolina was the favorite. No, they were not. Not even close. Nobody here picked Carolina. I don't think he watches football. I don't think he watches anything other than tape of his teams that he does every week, which is ironic, which means that all he does is watch the Kansas City Chiefs. That's all they do on CBS for 5 weeks out of the year. I do not understand how you don't understand that your job description. So, number one, I think part of this is CBS's fault because when they came and told him don't do this, he sheltered.
He stopped caring pretty much. I think
he stopped caring, but also not only did he stop caring, I think he lost his personality. Because regardless of what you can say about a lot of the color commentators in our sport, and you could say some negative things, we all do, right? But Chris Collinsworth, yeah, he might be kind of eccentric, but that's his personality. And it works well with Tirico. Kirk Herbstreit, very cerebral. We love what he does. Let's put Tom Brady this year. Last year, we all thought he wasn't very good. He learned how to connect with an audience this year. He clearly actually cared to get better, and he did. Greg Olsen is the best at this because I think Greg Olsen can work with anybody at any time and be phenomenal. That's why he's the best in the business right now. Yeah, literally the best in the business right now.
Yeah, he's dipped a little bit, but he's still good.
Yeah,
just a little bit. Because there's still some times when I hear him calling the wrong game, and I'm like, Greg, it's not the right thing to say.
And again, I'm not saying that color commentators make those mistakes. They're human, and by the way, they have different opinions than we do about the National Football League, and that's good. And eccentric or not, whatever. But you have to have a personality. Like J.J. Watt's a great example. JJ has always been a player, even when he was a player, very connected to the fans. Why? Because remember how he thinks roughing the passer is a terrible rule? And it actually is, and he's been so up in arms about it. Yeah, that's part of what makes him a good commentator. I think Tony Romo has lost interest. No, you're good, Scoop. I think Tony Romo has lost interest partially because of that whole thing with CBS and them basically telling him to slow down. I think he just sheltered and doesn't have a voice, which is really bad. I think Jim Nantz looks uncomfortable with him in the booth. You can clearly tell that he's just
awkward sizes between them sometimes.
It's so uncomfortable. And secondly, when he got a bunch of money, he stopped caring even more. Immediately when he got the contract, he got worse. And I feel sad because honestly, I think Tony Romo actually has a really good voice for football. Mm-hmm. He understands the game. He understands it enough to be a color commentator, but I think he's just genuinely lost the voice that connects with fans. And it's really sad, but also just really annoying.
And they've neutered him. So
yeah. And so exactly. And and it's true. And I just don't understand why. I don't get it. I know why. But guys, CBS has the Super Bowl in 2 years.
Ugh.
This cannot be our commentary team for the Super Bowl. If Tony Romo, I'd much rather have Ian Eagle and J.J. Watt do Super Bowl.
But could you imagine? Could you imagine a Super Bowl hearing? I don't know, Jim. It's gonna be great. I'm not gonna lie. It's gonna be so great.
Scoop, Shane, any other Tony Romo thoughts?
I think he should be a coach. That's my thought.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah,
I mean,
I would
really,
agree. Actually,
that's how I've always felt about him. Not necessarily an NFL coach,
ROC possibly.
Gonna betray Dallas.
If Tony Romo ended up as our OC and we went back-to-back rigs with former Dallas people as our OC,
I would laugh so hard.
I would both laugh so hard, but I think I would need about 105 different antacids trying to get through that, because the fact that we would be succeeding with a former rival would just make me sick to my very GI system.
Scoop, any Tony Romo commentary thoughts? I know you don't really focus on the commentary as much.
I don't.
But do you have any thoughts on what he's done this year, the last few years?
I mean, on a very general level, I'm typically one to say that I think of the former players, or of the ones who are not even former players, but of the ones who are the highest profile, I think at times he's been one that I thought on the game itself, meaning the X's and O's schematic type things, I find him to be somebody from whom I enjoyed listening in terms of just how he saw the game as an ex-quarterback. But again, that goes back a decent period of time, and that's not in any way specific to this game specifically. But again, like I said, that's a very general view that I've taken, and it goes back a couple years now. That's really all I can say. I can't really say with any level of passion that I have a strong opinion on him more recently.
That's fair. All right. Well, here's something you'll have a strong opinion on: the Philadelphia.
Here we go.
Scoop did not. We did not hear from Scoop the entire Sunday night game.
No.
Oh, I was concerned. We were all concerned. We were like,
we were very worried, but I also knew that you weren't happy. So air out your grievances. And by the way, it's even worse because Shane has a play drawn up that you requested.
That I requested.
So,
which first off, I want to say thank you to Shane for accepting my idea on that. But
anytime.
I'm almost more disappointed in the fact that in the second quarter, even because Rob called me, I think twice actually. I think you called me twice during that game, and
I think it was twice. Because you were asking some questions, and so we were just like, let's.
I'm always kind of just like interacting during the game with whether it's like I was talking to fellow Eagles fans, I was talking to this whatever, and we were watching the game, and I was seeing some things that were optimistic to me in terms of the sense that I thought, okay, they're doing some different things offensively. This is kind of what we were hoping we would see. Like people were kind of almost half joking throughout the last couple of weeks, like maybe we'll see a playbook that we haven't seen before when we face the 49ers. And that for a period of time looked like it might actually be the case because we were starting to see, some motioning. We were seeing, Goddard used in different ways. So all these different things. And now, but to even bring it back a little bit further for a moment, and Brandon knows this is probably more than anybody, the level of optimism that I had going into that game, the moment we got that report that Lane Johnson was out, that level of optimism that I had going into that game, I already knew it was going to be basically a coin flip at that point.
Yeah.
Because a good amount of my hope and optimism about the season came from, and how many times did I say this, getting the guys back healthy, especially not for anything, a future Hall of Fame right tackle. So you have all those things, manifesting already early on. But even as the game started, and I remember I said to Rob, I said to a couple of other people, I said, this is probably the best game I've seen called from Coach Patullo so far this season. And if I'm going to see it at this time, I'm going to see it at the right time. And now, again, people can say, well, that's not a high bar to clear one thing or another, which is entirely fair game. But for that is what I said. And I said that to Rob, I think. And Rob, what he said to me, and this was interesting because this had never crossed my mind. He said, what I'm seeing is, and what he said, what I think is happening is, and correct me if I say any of this incorrectly, Rob, but what he said was, I think that they're basically calling two plays in with Jalen Hurts, and he goes up there with one, and if he doesn't like it, if he doesn't get a good read for it, he can check out and go to the other one.
It wasn't just that, because I'm positive that's what they were doing. But he was checking different routes. Yeah. There was he literally changed an entire formation in the middle of the second quarter, and I was
let him call his own plays. I'm sick of this.
Yeah, I was like, this is great. This is like exactly what we wanted. Like this is
And you know what's funny? Every time he has called his own plays this year, it's been a beautiful drive or a touchdown.
Yeah,
true.
It's basically letting him Peyton Manning it up there, and
essentially
take the straight jacket off my quarterback.
Yeah. And so we were watching all that, and so I'm going into halftime. I'm going into halftime with about as much optimism as I could have hoped to have, especially with Lane Johnson out. And then, sure as shucks, about halfway through the third quarter, it became very clear that history was going to repeat itself yet again. I was seeing the same damn 3-and-outs. The numbers that had been drawn down on the hitch routes to start the game that I had been sending to people were going right back up. And what made it worst of all, because at the halftime, we were seeing issues at halftime for sure, but the issues that I was seeing were mistakes that you don't normally see from players that you don't normally see making them. Yeah. Like we saw a ball go off Saquon's fingers. One thing. So, we saw things that were uncharacteristic and not likely to be repeated in the second half. And then we saw the same shit, different day. We saw the can't sustain a drive. We saw the amount of times I saw us take over from San Francisco damn near midfield or even on their side of the field a couple times. And you can't, and we went back to back. Q took back to back picks. And off of back to back picks, we got 0 points on one of them and 3 points on the other. It is so rare for one player to make a pick, let alone 2 picks himself in the second half of a playoff game. And you can't get 1 touchdown out of that. And on one play, you can't score at all. And both of those are happening near midfield. Are you freaking kidding me?
I apologize, Scoop, but can I say the one thing I want to say about this game? And please tell me if you all agree.
Yeah.
Both of these teams, the Niners and the Eagles, do not deserve to be here. Seattle, I think Seattle's going to have a tough time with San Francisco, but I don't believe Seattle loses that game.
I can't in good objectivity say San Francisco doesn't deserve to be here. When I saw how they played yesterday, you could say some of it was because, some of it was because of mistakes that we made. But even when they faced our defense, which clearly came to play yesterday and clearly played more than well enough to win, they still were making some plays when they had to on offense. And I will say their defense, again, like I said, a lot of it was our offense not showing up, but their defense, for as banged up as they were not going to go down without a fight yesterday. They were the definition of hard work beating talent when talent wasn't working hard. So I don't think that they're going to make a run because of how depleted they are injury wise, but to say they don't deserve to be here, I can't say that after watching what I saw yesterday.
What I mean is this, I look at for example, I look today, right? Sorry. Mm-hmm. I look at today with Houston, and I'm like, their defense deserves to be here, but their offense damn sure doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
I look at Pittsburgh. They got here by the skin of their teeth. Lucky. Carolina, even though getting on the skin of their teeth, absolutely deserved to be here.
Yep.
Look at how they played. Chargers, you deserve to be here, but your offensive line does not. That's a problem. And it was. And then New England,
but we've been saying that all season. Every team has 1 or 2 units that deserve to be here, and another one that just doesn't.
Oh, and I think that's absolutely kind of my overall point. But when I looked at the 49ers, and this was kind of my biggest issue with San Francisco yesterday, was even though San Francisco won. And I think part of this was kind of intentional by San Francisco. And it wasn't necessarily, I guess that's not the right phrase, because it wasn't intentional. It was just flow of the game stuff. But the flow of the game was basically the Niners felt, like we all did, middle of the third quarter, that they were going to win, is essentially my point. And so the gas pedal started pulling off. And then when you look at what they did against Seattle in Week 18, the gas pedal was not even down most of that game. And so that when I look at them against Seattle again, in Seattle, I'm like, yes, and Shane's right, it's a division rival. So a lot of this has to be taken with some grain of salt, because every division rival's this way. Mm-hmm. San Francisco, to me, doesn't have the gas pedal all the way down to be able to beat Seattle. That's all I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I agree with that, and there's a reason why I picked Seattle to win the Super Bowl this year, and I stand by that pick. And obviously for your 2 sake, I hope I'm right. But I think that in terms of being here, in terms of at least winning a playoff game, that's kind of what I meant when I said being here. That's kind of what I meant. I think that they. I think that they deserve to be here after the way that they played, deserve to at least have a shot. But again, sorry, Rob, were you going to say something?
No. Go back to your rant.
Yeah.
I just wanted to kind of specify even more what I was seeing and why I was frustrated by the game, to kind of add to what you and eventually Brandon have to say.
Right. And so basically, but that's the thing is, San Francisco, for as many times as we weren't taking the game, San Francisco was keeping us right in it.
Mm-hmm.
And there we go. That's exactly the perfect.
Yeah.
That's yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but three moments of the game really stick out. Or I think they were all even in the second half. Really stick out to me. One was that shouting match between Coach Sirianni and AJ Brown on the side, which I'm sorry.
That was the first half.
Sorry?
Yeah.
That was the first half.
My bad.
Yeah.
But so that sticks out to me. I get that Coach Sirianni has to defend his player after the fact. At least in the public, I understand that. I'm sorry. AJ Brown, I don't need to see wear this uniform again. Thank you for what you did in the first 3 years of your career here. I don't need to see this man on the Eagles field again. And don't tell me because it's the contract and yada, yada, yada. If they designate him post June 1st, designate him post June 1st after this season, they can save $7 million on the cap. They're not going to take the big cap hit that they would have originally. He's done. You know what? AJ Brown is clearly meant to be a high-paid number one receiver, getting a lot of touches and getting a lot of yards and getting a lot of stats for a team that has no chance to do anything in January. And go ahead, go do that. Have fun. Good luck. Thanks for 2024. God bless you. But
go to the Raiders.
I'm so damn sick and tired of this guy's attitude. And he spent so much of the year pouting and pissing and moaning and pounding the table and saying, "I just want this offense to be more in a flow. I'm at my best doing my thing." You were put in every damn position in the second half, not just the second half of this game, second half of the season to do your thing, and you pissed all over it and you let the team down in the process. Every game that we saw where your stats were up, the team's performance was down, and every game when your stats were limited, the team was usually doing well. So Devontae Smith is good enough at this point to be a number one receiver on a championship team.
People forget that he was our number one in 2021 as a rookie.
Yeah, he was. And and you can go and get a 3 or a 4 in the draft just fine, or on the trading block or in free, whatever.
You can get a 2 in this draft.
I think you can get a 2 for AJ.
You can get a 2 in this draft. I'm saying you can get a wide receiver 2 in this draft.
I know. But my point just being is that I think you'll have is that I don't even know if you'll need a quote unquote 2 with the guys that you already have. You'd want it to be that, but my point is being that I think you know what I'm saying.
Right.
So that was the first thing that stuck out to me. The second one, and I say second chronologically, even though this might be the biggest of all, did you guys see? I don't even think anybody spoke any words, but when they were drawing up that stupid ass play that Shane's, God willing, going to have to go through and going to walk us through in a couple minutes, when they were drawing it through or doing that, did you guys see the video clip where Coach Sirianni is making eye contact with Jalen Hurts? Jalen Hurts is looking like this, and basically Coach Sirianni is just looking like this is what he called. This is what he called.
Well, and by the way, was this also the moment where I had to message Shane and be like, "Is this normal?" Because there were 6 coaches talking to him at one time.
Remember, I was the first one that pointed that out because I said to you, I said that is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. That there's 6 guys talking about one football play.
Does that happen on a sideline, Shane?
No, because when you're in a timeout situation, it's a short amount of time, and it's usually in a critical situation like under 2 minutes, right? You want the coordinator, whether you're on offense or defense, and maybe the head coach. That's it.
I don't know.
So no 6 people. No 6 people.
I don't know who the last guy was on the far right, but I know it was Jalen, Tanner McKee, Sirianni.
Why is Tanner McKee there?
No idea.
It's no. I mean, backup quarterback's fine just to listen because in case something happens,
if God willing, he gets hurt and they have to run somebody out or what.
If they get like a penalty and Jalen gets cracked in the head or something, then
yeah. So that's fine if he's just listening, which it looked like he was. So
His reaction was even better than Jalen's. His reaction, he literally looked at Sirianni twice like this. He was like, he's like, oh boy.
Yeah, it should be Patullo, Sirianni.
It was Jalen and Tanner, Scott
Jalen,
Loeffler,
and Tanner if he wants. That's it. No one else.
Yeah,
because
I don't know why Scott Loeffler was there.
Because when you're crunched for time like that, and it's like it's a critical situation. You don't need
too many cooks
all
in the
these
kitchen.
different. Right.
Yeah, too many cooks in the kitchen. 100%.
It's a hindrance.
That's the thing I sent to you guys. I said in the chat. I said, how many idiots it take to screw in a light bulb?
Yeah, and
yeah,
I just and I didn't see that in real time. Like I didn't see that specific moment in real time. But when I went back,
I saw the photo. We saw the photo, and we're just like, "What the hell?"
Right.
Yeah.
I like, and I thought to myself, they lost that game right there. They didn't lose that game when Jalen threw the pass. And if I hear one more time people talk about Jalen throwing that ball and that it was, yeah,
give me that shit.
Yeah, but again,
we'll go over that in a minute.
We're gonna go over that in a minute. But I just every single time that it was a classic example of there was no opportunity to develop momentum. There was no opportunity to, they kept saying get into a rhythm. The first time they got into a rhythm was at the very end of the game when their backs couldn't have been more against the wall. And as usual, it was, a situation in which the problems that had plagued them all season came back to bite them in a moment where, because again, old habits die hard and bad habits die hard, and that's basically what we were working with here. The amount of penalties is the last thing that I'll mention, which I'll say this: plenty of penalties went uncalled against San Francisco, and that pissed me off. But that being said, there's still no excuse for you to make as many dumb mistakes as you made when, and Brandon, I mean, he said it so many times I was going to start taking a shot every time he said it, but he kept reiterating that tough, detailed, and together quote that coach had used in the past. And
is that from Hard Knocks? What is that from?
Because after every mistake in that game, I had to say it because he keeps hammering that home after every mistake they make every week. So after every mistake they made in the game, every penalty, I had to say it because I'm like, you can't say you're going to fix these problems, say you're tough, detailed together when you're clearly not the entire year. That's been his mantra, I think, since he's become a head coach in Philly. So,
oh Jesus, okay,
yeah. But anyway, so. It just little things like that, and the first half of the game, I put most of these things that went wrong, whether it was, whatever, I put it on the players in terms of execution and things of that nature, because I'm sorry, I get the responsibility of the coaches, I get the responsibility of the coordinators and whatnot. These players have played football long enough and have been, playing long enough just for that season and are making enough money for their talent, for their so-called talent, that I'm sorry, some of these things I feel like maybe I'm wrong, but some of these things I feel like you don't need to be reminded of if you're in this situation. Is just my personal opinion.
No, I don't think that's wrong. I don't think that's wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
I question how much I should expect, them to have to be reminded every single week of things that feel like they probably, again, my own personal guess, they probably were taught when they were 9 years old. So that's kind of,
oh my God, it's the Yankees. Holy crap. It's the Yankees.
What happened now?
It's the Yankees. You just basically said what the Yankees did this year too.
Oh yeah. Yep. You know what? Good point.
Jesus,
good point.
The Yankees.
That went over my head. But what do you expect? There's a lot of room up there. I'm 5'5", but
Jesus.
But I just
we're on a podcast. Damn.
So anyway, I was.
I'm kidding. It was fun.
But again, that was the other thing of it was the penalties. In the first half, I put a lot of that execution stuff more on the players than the coaches. The second half, I believe, with the exception of number 11, who was playing a lot more like number 2, I put a lot more of of what happened in the second half on the offense of the offensive play calling and the offensive scheming or whatever you want to call it. Because again, as we've said countless times this year, once the part that stops being Sirianni and Patullo, which is kind of, and presumably Loeffler, the stuff that is pre-schemed, is pre-drawn up, is that shows up on the the whatever you call it, the first 25 or whatever you want to call it. Once that stuff has been kind of used up, and once they have to kind of adjust on the fly, we made a lot of comments, and I made a lot of comments, the last couple of weeks about how Shanahan doesn't adjust well at halftime. Yesterday, it was us that didn't adjust well at halftime. It was, and once it became less of those three working together and more on, okay, play caller, go do your thing, it became back to the same crap. And the fact that all of those people were talking together on that last play tells me that Patullo was so in over his skis this year that he basically was desperately, seeking counsel from any and everybody that he could because he was afraid of making a mistake. And
which he made anyway.
Yeah. And for those who didn't see it, I will say for if there was any doubt in anybody's mind, now it hasn't happened officially yet, but Adam Schefter earlier today, for those who didn't see it, reported. I want to pull this up because I want to get it correct. But essentially said that the Eagles are expected to make wholesale changes to their offensive staff this offseason, which is going to begin with a change in the offensive coordinator position. So Patullo will be fired.
And by the way, sorry to interrupt. The reason why it hasn't happened yet, I believe, is that when you lose on a Sunday, traditionally, when you lose on a Sunday for a wild card game, traditionally your exit interviews, quote unquote,
exactly,
happen
on the Monday.
It happens on a Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday.
It happens on Wednesday. It happens on Wednesday normally. It happens like middle of the week.
Okay.
At least with the owners, it does. At least with the owners, it normally happens middle of the week.
Which makes
at least
sense.
I think it's different for every team. So at least it's tradition to be on a Wednesday. It could be different.
Which makes sense. I think there were people. I mean, I think a lot of Eagles fans were hoping it would be as soon as possible. Myself included. And I think people also thought that because, again, normally when the regular season ends, those coaches see changes happening typically, or those teams have changes happening typically on Monday. Now I would keep this in mind too, is that tomorrow and Wednesday become very important dates when it comes to interviewing with coaches who are still in the playoffs. So if they have their eyes on somebody like let's say a Zach Robinson of the Rams, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that it's after either tomorrow or Wednesday that he becomes available to be interviewed, because there are stipulations in terms of when scheduling can happen. So I don't know all the details. I don't. Yeah, I know that it's the next 2 days for playoff teams. I do know that much. At least teams that are still in the playoffs. So I do wonder if maybe that's because they've also been looking at another Rams assistant. I shouldn't say they've been looking. I should say that a name that's come up repeatedly in Eagles circles with regard to that is, I'm going to butcher his name, but Nate Shellhouse, who's another.
He got requested by a few teams yesterday or 2 days ago. So there you go.
Yeah, so I would be not surprised at all to see him become somebody that they look at. But again, they know that they would know that they're behind the eight ball. They're not dumb. They made a dumb hire by that, but again, they're not a dumb organization. And I think that they obviously know that they're behind the 8 ball when it comes to interviewing some of these more in-demand offensive coordinators. I don't expect them to take too long to make this happen. But I brought this up because wholesale is a very interesting thing because they have offensive assistants who have been there quite a while. Mm-hmm. And with the offensive, and I hate to say this because we all love them, I wonder if this goes as far as moving on from offensive line coach Jeff Stoutland.
It probably does.
It might, yeah.
He's been there. I think he's the longest tenured coach in Philadelphia.
Yeah, he is.
So
all right, let's move to the play that we've all been anticipating. So Shane, let us know the stupidity from an X's and O's standpoint, and then I'll give Brandon a few seconds for his thoughts, and we'll move to the other playoff games here.
Where do I start?
Oh Jesus!
I asked myself that question about 10 times yesterday.
There's a few things that are.
Oh no, there's a few things. It's even more than last time.
Okay, first of all, so
and this is the 4th down to end the game, correct?
This is the 4th and 11 to end the game.
Oh look, it's a play that I use on Madden when I'm high.
Madden.
When I'm high. Oh Jesus.
So first of all,
verticals.
before we even get into, it's a variation of 4 verticals. It's a
bad one.
This is like verticals over. Typically is what you would call this. So here's what's weird.
No.
How many years has AJ Brown been in Philly? 4?
4.
4. Yeah, well, he was brought in at the end of the 2022 draft.
Yeah, so 4.
Okay. For 4 years, AJ Brown has been the X. Devontae Smith has been the Z. In every single Philly game I've seen, which is quite a bit because they've been in the playoffs and been on primetime a lot.
They're on TV a lot.
Yeah, Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Super Bowls.
Last night, for whatever reason, they switched.
What?
Yeah.
This is what happens when you're out of ideas.
AJ Brown was the Z last night. Devontae Smith was the X. Haven't seen that for 4 years. And you decide in a playoff game, hey, let's just switch it up. Okay, so that's number 1. Even though AJ Brown is a perfect archetype for an X, and Devontae Smith is the perfect receiver to be a Z. But, whatever. It's neither here nor there at this point.
Whatever.
So, what happens here for San Francisco? So they're in just a nickel look. They got 5 DBs, and they only rush 4. So they show Mike and Sam. They're up on the line, but then they both back off and play kind of the hook curl zone. Okay, and then you only have 4 rushing. End comes around. He apexes other end. And then the tackle and the nose switch. So tackle goes around Cam Jurgens and the nose goes the other way. First problem is when the tackle goes around, goes in the A gap here on the right side. Who was the right guard yesterday?
Tyler Steen.
Yeah, he didn't pick him up at all.
Because he doesn't, because he sucks.
Yeah, so thank God Saquon was back there blocking, because he saved Hurts from probably getting sacked. Anyways, because that's what your most talented offensive player should be doing. And then so for the DBs, they're in quarters, which is a variation of cover 4. So why we call it quarters?
And the variation you
because,
run in a final minute of a game.
Right. So the reason it's called
Or the
quarters
final play, I mean.
is because they're all deep, covering a quarter of the field. That's kind of the idea. So, and then the nickel, along with the linebackers, they kind of are running Meg on the inside receivers, which is man everywhere he goes. So if he's running this way and then cuts in this side, you go that way. If he goes this way, you follow him that way. If he goes to the locker room to take a piss, you go there and give him a paper towel when he's done.
What,
all right?
Are you talking about the linebackers? Sorry, is that
Linebackers,
the linebackers
and the nickel. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
So you're welcome. So the reason this doesn't work is because right here, so he throws to Goddard, which is Y. Okay. So you can see it. Goddard looks right about here when he turns like he's going to be open. The problem is Rover safety picks it up and comes down, and then Sam is right there in front. And then Kendricks, the Mike, he also comes over. So everybody picks it up instantly, and they all crash right about
they all
here.
Converge. Yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't, work. But everybody's saying, oh, Jalen, he did, he threw it into triple coverage and this and that. Look at this guy. Where's he going to throw? You tell me who's open, because I don't know.
Do you know the excuse I heard for people saying why he sucked in that final play of the game, as if his receivers didn't drop 10,000 balls the whole game, was that you should have just thrown the 1-on-1 with either AJ or Devontae. I'm like, okay, and AJ sucks at 1-on-1 this season, and there's no guarantee Devontae catches it.
Well, it's not. Look at the play. You just look at the play diagram, though. If you're running quarters, they'll move around to wherever the ball is anyway.
And there's gonna be someone back there anyway. And actually, what would have been effective probably here, what they never did all game was, what you should do with Saquon there, like have him chip and then leak out, and then maybe he catches the ball out in space and he gets either into the end zone or a 1st and goal. Like,
possibly.
The thing is, their quarters look here. They weren't disguising it at all. Like the corners, field side was a little deeper, but the field corner and boundary corner were both playing deep. So you knew that it was either going to be cover 4 or it was going to be cover 2 Oscar, maybe. But either way. So, I mean, right there, it's like, you can throw to Devontae, but field corner is on him and bigger than him. And then, free safety can just hop over and
it's not 1-on-1. It's not 1-on-1 at all.
Everybody is
wondering though. You know what I'm wondering, what could possibly fix that play just slightly, even though I'm not sure if it would. Have the F kind of leak out to the boundary, because the field side corner is taking Devontae into the end zone.
Yeah, that's as long as the nickel doesn't get inside leverage on him, that would be correct. Look at you, Brandon.
Yeah.
Give me the headset. I've said this all year. God, man. Because you've got the free safety waiting back there for him to cut, and you literally have the two linebackers the linebackers sitting there on the inside. So if you just have the F pretty much just go the opposite direction, go out. Yeah.
Yeah, you can do like that. Yeah.
Or maybe
that would
maybe a
work.
little bit higher because it's the final play. We're kind of final play, kind of.
Yeah. No, because but I mean, if he gets too much higher, then nickel will get inside leverage.
And then
that
it's
is true.
not,
Yes.
and then at that point, it's not going to be triple coverage at that point because either the F's going to be open or the tight end, which was Goddard, is not going to be triple covered because he's going to have that linebacker's going to have to choose which way to go.
No, linebacker will be in like quadruple coverage.
Well, yeah,
because now free safety's there.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, he would drop in. Yeah, that's right. But still, either
way,
I know what you mean.
Dumb anyway. It's dumb anyway.
But either way, even if you make that one fix, that probably works. Because when I looked at that play too, and I watched that corner go with Devonta Smith into the end zone, I'm like, well, if you just cut that to the left, it's either a wide open touchdown or it's first and goal. Because you're literally calling two routes that are going right into the middle of their defense, and then just two go routes on the outside. It doesn't make sense.
But even then, I mean, So yeah, Brandon, that was a good suggestion there. Let's try another one.
If you even have to run that play, is what I'm saying. If that's what you have to do,
right?
Then that's even one way to fix it.
And I'm not even going to do something crazy here. I'm just going to do a simple concept. Okay, because this is what Philly did this year was just simple stuff. So let's keep it simple. Let's try.
Keep it simple, stupid. Pretty much.
Let's see.
Please put that job up on Indeed so Shane can apply.
I mean, it will be on LinkedIn. I mean, all the NFL jobs get posted on there.
Let's do Dagger. Okay, this is Dagger.
Dagger's fun.
Where
Philly doesn't know what Dagger is because we don't use middle of the field routes until we have to at the end of games.
Where what's going to happen here? Sam is going to come back and he'll see Goddard on a go, so that'll bring him up this way. Okay. So you'll either have F open right about here, just timing based, or if Sam stays here because he sees F coming across, good chance Z is going to be open right here because F is going to be taking away the rover safety, right? So I mean, it's, depending on what these two do, there's a good chance either F or Z will be open there. I mean,
because all Dagger pretty much is just a high-low crossing concept.
Yeah. And then, I mean, hell, even a low crossing concept, you guys know what that's called?
What,
a drag?
The drag, yeah.
Yeah, or mesh. Either or.
Or mesh.
Mesh spot for the win. That's why
mesh spot.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't I remember there a couple months ago there was a play that you showed us that was kind of similar where too many guys offensively got converged into one spot? Wouldn't that be a risk with that one too? I saw the three that were kind of up here, or were they not close enough together?
For the defenders?
No, offenders. Like the receivers.
Offenders.
I don't know what I just said there.
Well, yeah, I mean that's not as much of a concern when you're in quarters.
Okay.
Because quarters
they're so high up.
Space.
Okay.
Another concept you could do here that would be beautiful is flood.
We love some flood.
That's kind of where I was going too when I was saying
yeah.
While Shane draws this up, do you have anything else to say, Brandon, to add to what Scoop said?
Well, there is something important that has to be brought up, because I love that we always talk about the hitch routes. Like every week this year, we talk about just the insane amount of hitch routes that we run offensively, and I'm glad that Scoop brought this up, but because I saw this last night and I could not believe what I was reading, and because Brendan Deeg talks about the Eagles, like
Yep.
he's credentialed with Philly.
Yep.
He said the Eagles ran 48 hitch routes on
Yep.
Sunday, which is 27.6% of their routes.
Yep.
That's the most of any playoff team this weekend. Other teams averaged less than half that, 12.6. The Niners only ran 10 of them, 5.8. And it says the other Eagles route rankings among 10 playoff teams so far. In breaking, so they only ran 11 in breaking routes, which was dead last, 10th. Crossers, 8 routes, 9th. So there
Thank
you
you,
go.
because I was trying to find that and I couldn't figure out where it was from, or like I couldn't figure out where it had gone because I saw it this morning.
And that's what's
All
interesting.
right, Shane, go ahead.
Because you notice how many guys that this was a very common coverage San Francisco showed a lot last night. You notice how many guys are in the hook curl zone? 1,
Everybody's in there.
3. Yeah, because they knew it was Hitch City.
Yeah, do you remember
So,
the 4th and 2 play? Because the 4th and 2 play was also like that.
Yeah,
Like
and they tried to hit Dotson on an out,
Has
not an out, a flat.
which hasn't worked all year
But-
long.
No,
It's just
because
never
Nickel
worked.
is right there. But anyways,
And Jahan
I mean,
Dotson's like
here's-
one of the worst receivers with separation in the NFL.
here's
So-
Flood. I mean, as you can see, who do you think is going to be open here
Wait, Flood?
on Flood?
Like probably the Y.
You would think.
In most
Yeah.
cases. The
Well,
Y
yeah.
or the F
Yeah.
in most cases. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Y is wide
So
open.
that's another
Yeah.
that's another option you could do. But no, let's run 4 verts into quarters. That's a great idea.
That's a great idea.
I have,
That always
I have an-
works.
I have another question.
Kevin Patullo. It's literally Kevin Patullo just hitting Ask Madden, and it's just the 3
Yep.
4 votes.
Yep. Yes,
What's your
Scoop.
other question, Scoop?
Okay, so I watched. I mean, not just me, obviously. Brandon and I both watched it happen so often this year that I think even if it's like a screen at this point where even if we see a hitch route again in our lives, even if it's justified, we're both gonna look at it and have like PTSD.
Thank
but
you.
but so from a general football IQ standpoint, when would you actually want to run a hitch route or something like that? Like, when is it actually supposed to be utilized? If that makes sense.
It's quick passing. So basically,
Yeah,
I'll
like
let
3rd
Shane
and
explain
1.
it further.
Yeah.
So it's quick
3rd
passing,
and 2,
but it's
you
also
know.
it's also wild. Like for example, sorry, LA Chargers. The Chargers should have ran this more last night, but they didn't because old New England did was blitz.
Mhm.
So if you run hitches, it's fast. You
Well,
just-
and and the
Yeah.
thing is, the worst part is a lot of Phillies hitches are 5+ yards down the field, 5 and 10 yards.
not three, which it should be.
Yeah,
Which-
which like if
Yeah.
like this would be something that like you were doing if like they were sending like they were loading the box and you were trying to get the ball to guys quickly.
Or if you see the defense, if you see the DB playing, more than 7 yards off the receiver on like 3rd and 2, you just tell them, hey, instead of running around, just turn around. Just turn around.
Yeah.
Basically
Sit there.
just turn around and it's right there. Okay, guys, are you ready for some incredible opening betting lines for the NFL playoffs for the divisional round?
Yes.
Because I just saw this and I got to add this in before we do anything else related. And please
And
make
I hope
your
to
picks
God
as
I don't-
well for these.
I hope to God I don't have to do more Kevin Petula whiteboard segments because Christ Almighty.
Well, you're not gonna because listen.
the-
No, go ahead.
The next time, like when's our next show? Sunday.
Sunday after the Bears game, yeah.
I'm not going to place another bet the rest of the football season, obviously. But if I were going to, I'd be willing to make a bet that the next time we're on air, he will not be the OC anymore.
Oh my God,
Oh,
that
no way.
notification is gonna be Christmas morning to me.
I was hoping it was going to come while we were on air. I genuinely was. But then,
you know what's the one thing I want to say too? The final thing we'll say about this, because I know we've gone too far into it, but
I mean, we've gone too far, but I think we talked about something pretty important because all these shows are talking about today is Philly. So you know what? Add us into the bunch.
The thing is, we finally have broken it down so that way, like we can show you how bad it actually looks. And the thing is, the one thing I will say, I hated people like that were still defending Portillo by like week 8. We're like, oh well, Kellen Moore's offense looked like that in the first half of the season. Here's the difference. Kellen Moore kept tweaking every week, and the offense improved steadily every week. Kevin Portillo's got worse as the season went on. It's not the same thing.
Also, Kellen Moore, like, you know, there's obviously like the joke where it's like, oh, people say like, oh, we're a second half team. We actually were a second half team under Kellen Moore.
And
when it got to halftime, our asses were clenching tight because we knew that all hell was about to break loose.
And the final thing is too, they keep saying, oh, well, he ran the same kind of hitch plays and things like that. But the thing is, it's not that it is the play calling to a degree, but it's also knowing when to call.
Yeah, exactly. It's the. I hate this phrase with a passion in any sport. I think it's one of the most overused phrases in sports, but it's the so-called feel for the game.
Yeah.
And, no, I think it's true.
And finally, for the last time this season, because we'll be talking about all the other teams coming up, especially with the betting lines, but get off my quarterback's ass. He had the worst play caller, one of the bottom 3 in the NFL this year, and still had the most passing touchdowns of his career to this point in a season.
I cut myself off from when I was ranting. I cut myself off before I got into the Jalen Hurts thing because I wouldn't have given you a chance to speak for 25 minutes. Because if you've watched 20 minutes of Philly football this year, and your takeaway is even top 3 or top 5, Jalen Hurts is the issue or an issue. I think you must have gone into it with an anti-Jalen Hurts narrative. Yeah. Because, and that's part of why when I showed the play, I wanted to show it from the QB's vantage point, because I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, what the hell option does he have?
Yeah, I've been saying it for years. So
if you think Jalen Hurts is the big problem for Philly, tune into our show in the off season when I'll be going deep dive into whiteboard segments.
Yes.
So I can't wait for your damn whiteboard segments.
We're just gonna do.
Oh my god, Brandon, did you make that?
What?
Whatever the thing you just sent in the group chat.
No, I didn't make that. So I found that on Twitter.
Oh my freaking hell!
People are just sending stuff on Twitter. How about
I've seen those memes all for the last day and a half.
I was on, or not on. That was the opposite. I was off social media for a good 18 hours because I literally had 200 unread messages from people, and you know what it was. It was the shit talk. It was the blah, 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 blah. And people are like, what happened? What happened? I'm like, bro, I have 200 people sending me the same
unsolicited messages.
No, not unsolicited. Uncreative and unoriginal bullshit. Because and it was all coming from fans of 3 and 14 teams.
But you know what's funny is the fact that you had that. I had people reaching out to me saying, I'm sorry for your loss, genuinely, because we know that it's not your team or your talent's fault. It's literally your coaching. I said, thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad that you have people with and I'm sure that people know. I think on my end, I think people knew that it wasn't true. I think people were just trying to get under my skin because I'm a Philly fan, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I'm just I saw people actually genuinely saying that Jalen Hurts was not just a problem, but the problem. And I said to my,
I don't listen to people anymore. I just don't.
And I'm just like, I don't know what drugs you're on, but your dealer should be locked up somewhere.
Okay. Let's move on. Okay.
Cheers to that.
I'm gonna reveal our picks because Brandon, you have to, before we do the betting lines. Brandon, you have to explain yourself about this. Yeah. You really do. Okay, so here were our picks for the Super Bowl. I had Seattle over New England. Shane has, I believe he has basically the same bracket as me, except New England over Seattle. Scoop has the Broncos.
As much as it pains my soul.
Right. Scoop has the Broncos over Seattle.
I will. Can I add that by saying I literally was a coin flip between Seattle versus Denver as to who I was going to pick to win that.
And that's fine. And this lonely soul that's next to us, which I'm still trying to figure out why you did this. So please explain yourself.
I gave you. I started to give you the reason yesterday, and then
but I need you to explain it. I need you to explain it.
Who did you have? Did you have? Who did you have?
I had Jacksonville.
Okay.
You had Jacksonville.
Yes. Jacksonville.
I never bought into the
Seattle.
hype with Jacksonville.
Okay. Explain yourself, because Trevor Lawrence looked horrible yesterday.
Because listen, I know Trevor Lawrence sucks in the playoffs, and I know that he sucks usually, but he was pretty much the third best quarterback in the NFL the second half of the season. He only turned the ball over rarely. I think they said that in terms of not turnovers but interceptions. He only had one pick in the last 8 games and like 19 total. It was like not something like crazy, like 19 touchdowns. And the thing is, Jacksonville was scoring like 30, 40 points a game. Listen, they weren't playing the world's greatest teams, but but anytime a team is consistently scoring that many points, it doesn't matter who they play. That's a well-oiled machine going into the playoffs. Plus, they were basically, outside of the Texans, they were the hottest team in the NFL in the second half of the season. And I figured that they would continue that, especially being at home against the Bills, who I didn't trust to save their lives. And I didn't think that. And Trevor Lawrence literally had the worst playoff game I've ever seen. Listen, he's had pretty bad ones, but against a really not so great defense, he basically spots them 14 points because he dives down like a weak ass on the 4th and 1. And then he gives them one bad pick to end the game, but the first pick into triple coverage, and there was like, you had the underneath route wide open on that play, where if you would have just hit him, would have been a first down, and you throw it into triple coverage and you spot them another 3 points, and honestly, it could have been worse. Thank God your defense bailed you out, but you basically spotted them more or less at least 10 points in that game. So if you just didn't act like a dumbass, which is, I blame him for that loss because you suck. And honestly, they need to think about moving on from him. I'm officially, like, I called Trevor Lawrence crap for years, but I actually bought into the hype in the second half of the year because the media did too. And let's be honest, we all did. So I figured that if they got,
I was going to say,
Shane was like, nope. Scoop was like, nope, but I was.
Well, we did say coming into the playoffs, like, remember, we said Jacksonville went from being like maybe like the 6th best team that we thought in the playoffs to like one of the top 3 or 4.
I don't remember where I had him on my power rankings. I'll be honest, like I genuinely don't remember where I had him.
I think you had him at like 7. I think you actually had them at 6, 7. Yeah, at 6, 7.
But like every week, I remember us talking about the 4 of us, and they were creeping up on everybody's boards. So, like, I figured that they would get past Buffalo because I figured that Buffalo would choke, like they usually do. Not in this round, but usually they choke.
I mean, they damn near did in this round.
And that because Trevor Lawrence sucks. Everybody else did a fine job. He's just dog shit. Plain and simple.
Well, I will say, and I don't know if I would say. Well, I'll wait until my turn, but I have something to say.
Go. There's no turns here. I'm giving you guys each a game. That's what I'm doing right now.
Okay. Well, no, just in the Jacksonville thing. I mean, I looked at some of the sort of retroactive data, if you want to call it that. I don't know, but looking back in terms of like timeouts and what some of their clock management was not great at the end of the season.
Yeah, no,
it wasn't. But like I just figured on the thing is too, like when you're that, it's one thing to be hot going into the playoffs, like winning 3 or 4 straight games. Like they had won, what was that, like 8 or 9? So it was like when you're that white hot going into the playoffs, you just expect that to continue. Maybe not the whole way through, but you expect it to continue. And I thought against Buffalo,
at least in the wild card, yeah,
they're at home. So like it wasn't a bad take by me to think that they were gonna do something.
We all took Jacksonville. It wasn't that bad.
So like, you know, and then because my reasoning was, okay, if Jacksonville wins, who do they go play afterwards? After that, they would go play the The Pats.
It would have been the Broncos because they were the
Broncos?
No, it would have been Patriots.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Patriots.
It's hard to
It
say
would've
because the seating affects everything.
it would have been the Pats.
but
and
still,
then the thing is,
it would have been the Pats.
As much as the Pats are good, I like Jacksonville's roster more than the Pats. So I would have.
Well, yeah, top to bottom, yeah, because it's just so bizarre because. Sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I was gonna say, so you can see my logic there building.
Yeah, well, it's just bizarre because they're almost like the exact opposite of one another. The Patriots, we are pretty sure we like the coach and quarterback. We don't know if we like anything else. The Jaguars, we seem to like pretty much everything. We're just trying to understand about the coach and quarterback.
Yeah.
Well,
Like-
not the coach because Liam's great.
Yeah, because Cohen did a
but-
great job. But the thing is, Trevor Lawrence was finally looking like he had his best stretch as a professional in that second half of the season. So I was like, okay, maybe he's finally, after all these years of sucking ass, figured it out. And I'm like, okay, clearly not because it just blew up in smoke. So, but my
Well,
thought.
speaking of quarterbacks in the playoffs, I mean, y'all know who I'm about to get on, but.
Oh well, yeah. But the thing is that's how I looked at it. Was okay. They're gonna win because they're at home and they're red hot going into the playoffs. And I don't think Buffalo's that great. And we said that for weeks. That we said since week 3 or 4 that Buffalo wasn't good. So I was like, okay, they're gonna beat Buffalo. It doesn't matter if they beat them by 1 point or by 20. I was like, they're gonna beat Buffalo. Then they're gonna go to New England and they're probably gonna upset New England because I like their roster a lot more. Then I was like, okay, it was building. So. And I and another thing is too is I like their, okay. So then the last one standing would probably be Denver. Then Denver, you go to Denver, which is not great. Not a great place.
The play calling is terrible.
But Denver's play calling is terrible. Bo Nix has done a lot of back-breaking, just like Trevor Lawrence, but Bo Nix this year has done a lot of back-breaking picks. They don't show up for about 3 quarters, and in the fourth quarter they find it. While meanwhile the Jaguars are kind of like the opposite. So I was like, okay, then they'll win that game. So it made sense for me to put them as high as what I did. So
Yeah.
it just didn't work.
Yeah. Do you have anything else on it, Jacksonville, Shane? Do you have anything else on Jacksonville, or does that kind of sum it up?
I just think Trevor Lawrence. I said this a little bit in our chat, but to me, he's a guy who, and I see this a lot in even my own kids that I coach. It's like he's one of those guys that is very naturally talented, but he just kind of rides on that, and he doesn't really put in the extra work. I mean,
Doesn't
look at
take
the guy.
the game seriously.
Yeah, I mean, he's well, first of all, he said in multiple interviews that he doesn't care that much about football. He's just, so I mean, that right there tells me it's like, okay, he's just there to collect the check and hang out. I don't know, or not hang out, but you know what I mean.
Who was it that they used to say that about? Was that Big Ben or Brett Favre?
It's Kyler Murray is what it is.
Well, I know, but it was one of them two that I was thinking of.
Probably Favre. I mean,
I think it was
Probably
Favre.
Favre, I would guess. Yeah.
with how many picks he threw. Guys who just treat it like, yeah, I'm just gonna go out there, sling it around, and see what happens. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah. So, anyways,
Yeah.
Yeah, because Brett Favre's favorite play for years was F it. Sterling Sharp down there somewhere. F it. Bubba Frank's down there somewhere. F it. Donald Driver down there somewhere.
yeah. So, so anyways, that's. But I mean, you look at Trevor. He's 6'6", and he only weighs what, 215. Like, he obviously doesn't put that much time in the gym. He just looking at his decisions in the pocket, he obviously doesn't spend a lot of time in film. Just, it's like I think if he was, he's kind of, there's a lot of guys like, guys like Purdy who don't have the tangibles necessarily. They're not, doesn't have the best arm, doesn't have the best size, speed, whatever. But the intangibles are all amazing, right? his leadership, his IQ, his his pocket presence, all that. Trevor, though, it's kind of, he's like one of those guys who's sort of the opposite in many ways. Like, and same with Kyler, and and I mean, I have my own kids that I coach who are like that too, and and guys that I've played against too. For instance, Jacob Eason, best quarterback.
I remember that.
Yeah, best quarterback I ever played against. But it's it's very widely known around our state that he was kind of lazy and just didn't really put in a whole lot of effort. Because he was like, whatever. He's 6'6", big strong kid. Hell of a lot better than anyone else in Washington, So he was like, yeah, well, whatever. It's nothing against the guy. I'm sure he's a good dude, but
it's impressive to think of the fact that and that you talk about somebody, Jacob Eason. You're not talking about like when you go from Trevor Lawrence, somebody who was considered a first overall pick like 3 years in advance, and to think about somebody like Jacob Eason, who you're saying he was thought of that way, still made it to 6 different teams in the NFL is crazy to me.
Yeah, because the talent pool for actual guys who can play quarterback even at a practice squad level is pretty low.
Because
people can do that.
If I'm not mistaken, they were in the same class or maybe a year apart.
Him and Tilo.
Yeah, coming out of high school.
No. So Tilo was drafted in 2019, and then Eason was drafted in the 4th round in 2020.
Okay, so
no. The same high school class I meant.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, all good.
I would assume they were the same high school class. Yeah.
But anyways, Lawrence was 1 in the country, and Eason was 4. I'm pretty sure. So
I would imagine that's the case from what I remember. Yeah,
but that's just. That's that's kind of the difference, I guess, between and how thin those margins are. But anyways, so I don't know if I'd move on from him this offseason necessarily, just because, you look around the league, it's like, who are you going to get that's better than him right now, realistically? The answer is probably nobody. So,
not unless you're finding a way to make a trade up in the draft, and if you are going to find a way to do that, who's going to be willing to move off of a quarterback if they need one?
Yeah.
Right. Nobody. Not in this class.
All
right.
Yeah, he's
Yeah. All right, Shane. Well, I'll keep you going then. Matt LaFleur, are you comfortable keeping him?
Excuse me.
Moving forward or no?
Yeah.
Why so after that? Because a lot of that on Saturday was his mistakes.
Yes, I think. To me, though, it was more a shortcoming of Jeff Hafley and the defensive side.
He was bad.
True, yeah.
What an awful time for him to be supposedly having teams wanting him as a head coach.
True, yeah.
Yeah.
What a shitty way to.
And he's still getting interviews apparently, which is insane.
I think some of those interviews were lined up before he was. We've seen guys in the past who were considered top candidates went on to have a clunker in the playoffs, and they were like, "Well, we're not going to define him off of one game."
Yeah, and I think.
Look at Dan
I'm not
Quinn.
Mistaken, True. I think if I'm not mistaken, he has more interviews tomorrow. I could be wrong though.
I genuinely, like I told y'all, I was trying to keep track of the interview schedules for everybody, and it got to by the time we got to 8 freaking 8 freaking vacancies, and I'm still not convinced we're not going to get at least one more. It's
too hard to track. It's way too hard to track.
Yeah. I was just like, I'm going to keep my eye on one team, and that is it.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on
Yeah.
that, Shane? Because I mean,
Well, I mean, it's just when you look at his resume and his side of the ball specifically being offense. I mean, Green Bay's always had a really solid offense under him,
Yes.
and I think he develops their talent really well. And I think he utilizes everybody pretty well for the most part. And I think he's kind of a a lot of times people talk about they compare him. They say that he's like Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan, like the second tier of those guys, like the top of the second tier, because he's not quite as much of an X's and O's genius as them, but he's like, as far as culture, not a McVay, but he's a little better than Shanahan. Just so I think he has the locker room, and I think generally he makes good decisions in the game. But there's just things that happen sometimes where, I mean, you lose your star edge rusher that you traded for, and in the process, you also lose another lineman that you traded away to get the guy. So you're essentially down 2 defensive linemen. And then, you're without your right tackle, who's probably your second best lineman. It's just, and Tucker Kraft, he was a big part of that offense. So, you're missing all these pieces, yet you're still really competitive in this game. You're put up, 27 points on the road in January at a really tough place to play. I think, Green Bay, it's the Trevor Lawrence thing. Like, you can move on from the guy, but who are you going to get right now?
Yeah.
Especially because like we've heard and said multiple times this offseason that this is just perceived apparently as not the greatest offseason to be going after like these new these head coaches. Like a couple of years ago, we had like Mike Vrabel out there. Like there wasn't, at least maybe now that's changed. But I think for a while we weren't seeing this as like a great offseason to need a head coach. Now maybe with Harbaugh now that's changed, but
Harbaugh's but Harbaugh and Stefanski are only going to pick one team each in a sea of 8 teams, potentially more.
Yeah, so now the supply and demand thing lays out.
Yeah. Any objections, Brandon, or no?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're going to find anything better than him on the market. And the thing is, you're still a playoff team with him. So it's not like it's not like something where it's like John Harbaugh, where it's been like so long past due already. Like,
yeah, where you just feel like the message has run stale or something like that.
Yeah, like, so I can justify keeping him. It's just, but I'm not sold on him like everyone else, I guess, kind of is. I mean, Packers fans are going to hate. Fans are going to hate their own coaches regardless if they screw up. But it's and that, obviously we're proof of that, Scoop. Ours is justified because of how bad it is.
I mean, to be fair, I'm with you on the offensive coordinator, but
yeah, it's like when I look at Matt LaFleur, what pissed me off about the game against the Bears wasn't so much the overall play calling, but in that second half, they just took their foot off the gas offensively. You could see it. They spent basically 2 quarters trying to run the clock out. That's what pissed me off. Was you looked so good in the first half, you had your foot on the gas, and in the second half, you just assumed the Bears were going to roll over and die, and you were going to run the clock out for 2 quarters. That's what they tried to do pretty much. And that bothers me. It's like I don't hate his play calls most of the time, there's times where I question it, but to me it's like the situational play calling, and that's what I don't like. There's a lot of times where I'm looking at like 2nd and 1, and he's trying to run like a play action boot to a guy in the flat, but it takes too long to develop, and you don't have the guys to do that well enough. And I'm like, it's not creative enough. Like, you're not disguising it at all. So I'm just like, or you're not trying to do something different. Like, it's like he'll go to the same like 3 plays on the same down and distance every time when he needs to pick it up. So it's like, that's what kind of bothers me. Is just it's the little things with him that bother me, not the overall, but I think the situational awareness for him sucks, which I don't like, and just he kind of doesn't know when to keep the hammer down on a game. He kind of just there's too often in games where it's like you wonder why the Packers lose, and the defense was bad, but then it's like the offense just scores one more touchdown, like which they only scored 6 points in the second half. If they just would have scored one touchdown in the second half, it would have been fine. So it's and they couldn't do it. So
yes, Scoop.
Well, I'm just saying. I know we said we weren't going to talk about the game from tonight, but I just thought this was interesting since we are talking about coaching right now.
Yes.
I guess there was a lot of questions. Unsurprisingly, it's the same type of questions about what did you think about playing for Mike Tomlin? Do you think do you think Mike Tomlin should be brought back next year? Blah, 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 blah. And his response was
this Rodgers?
Yes.
Okay.
I've answered that question a number of times. I've talked extensively about how I feel about Mike, and I just did that in that fucking answer. So.
Oh, makes sense. Yeah. All right, Scoop. I'll let you continue. Sorry.
Basically, he was not thrilled about being asked if he thought that Mike Tomlin should be back, and basically said in not so many words, basically said that he was tired about answering about the Mike Tomlin questions. Said how I feel, and then ended the post-game presser on that.
When is Rodgers ever happy answering questions though?
That is
I imagine after a playoff loss, it's not the greatest time to ask to
no,
be.
No, it's not.
They're going to ask you that though. Like,
I hate to be this person, but it's also not a good idea when you're a reporter to give a pep talk to your head coach, Jacksonville. It's also not a good idea. Okay, never mind.
Okay. Can I be honest? I don't understand what happened there. Can someone please explain that to me?
I'll explain to you exactly what happened. So I'll explain to you what happened, because funny enough, Brandon was like, this kind of ties into what we're going to talk about with September 5. Obviously not very closely aligned, because obviously September 5 is a much deeper issue.
Right.
But there's a theme with September 5.
There's a theme right. With our movie September 5, which Brandon, you can explain more thoroughly than I can.
Yeah.
So basically,
excuse me.
Here's the thing, Scoop. Right? We have, this because you've studied media. We've all studied media in certain respects in this group, right? And that's part of the reason I picked September 5, which again, another September 5 tease. Can I stop doing teases about my own movies? No, because I'm very excited for this. Anyway, because it was my pick. So basically, as a reporter, right, there's a line, right? We're here to ask questions. We're not here to like motivate or to be like, we're here to just we ask a question, you answer, right? That is our rule in a press room, right? That's our rule as media people, right? So that's the preface. So she goes on. So this woman who I think she's like I think she's like one of the local ABC stations in Jacksonville. So, and I don't even think she's a sports reporter. She might be. I don't remember. She basically said, I'm not going to actually find it.
It was like a 30-second thing she went on.
Right at the end of the presser too. And by the way, I am not going to find the clip and play it. I'm just not going to do it because I'm that upset about it. Like, she basically was like, you should be really proud of this team. You did really good.
Yeah, hold your head up
high and things. And I was like, as respectable as that is, which And I think ultimately, I think it's a sweet moment. You can't be doing that if you're in a press room with like on camera.
Yeah.
You can't. It's not allowed.
You can do it off camera and talk.
You
to
should
them.
do it off camera.
Yeah.
I'm betting you a bunch of people in every press room did it off camera. Because honestly, you should. There's at the end of the day, and I've said this to NFL players when I've talked to them, Pat, no matter what we say about these guys on air, we have a lot of respect for what they do.
Yeah.
Because it's not an easy job, right?
Hell no.
Right? Like, we have respect for these guys.
Of course.
But we don't do that when there's cameras in front of us.
Yeah.
Really. Because it's not our job to pump people up. And you know what? I'll be honest. Liam Cohen was like, his demeanor was like, why are you saying this to me? I know to say this to my players.
Yeah, he looked uncomfortable.
He was kind of like awkwardly smiling. Like,
yeah. I mean, obviously I didn't see it. I just said that. But like, I also I can see how if you're not expecting that, which I imagine you wouldn't be, because that is obviously something that we're not used to seeing now that I think of it.
It's not appropriate. It's appropriate off camera. It's not appropriate in a press room at all. Anyway, Scoop, continue.
Yeah, because I was seeing a lot of dialogue over social medias about how it was like, like I saw Trey Wingo, basically, I know he was being critical of what happened. There are other people I know who were being more, who were responding more favorably and more positively to what happened.
Pat McAfee was glowing.
Yeah, Pat McAfee was probably one of the people that I saw. Well, I think he was one of the people that I saw because I know I follow him. But do you mind? But
Pringles again. Hi, Pringles.
If I were talking to anybody else that was that short, I'd be concerned. But so I didn't really have a full grasp of the situation. And
okay, Scoop, you convinced me. I'm gonna find it and play it. Hold on.
Okay.
Because I hate this so much. And even the way she said it pissed me off. I was like,
she said it like a sweet old southern lady. Like that's what it came off. Like,
yeah.
Oh.
Pringles cameo.
Yay!
Don't
Hi,
get me
Pringles.
wrong.
Why does the cat have to be on camera?
Oh my god!
What do you mean have to be? I didn't put her there.
Oh my god! It's
like she has a walkway into the camera. This is on national TV.
I mean, you got to remember, cats are very athletic.
Pringles, what are you doing?
So,
Pringles is famous and has no idea.
You know what it is. You know what it is about this situation. Before you play that soundbite, is now I love Pat McAfee. We all do.
Yeah.
But Pat openly admits, hey, we're not journalists. We're not traditional journalists.
Yeah, but then, and I respect that at least. At least he acknowledges, look, that's not what we're going for.
But it's like, okay, so you admit that it's not your field, but then don't criticize. Wow, don't criticize. Don't criticize the fact that don't say that. Oh yeah, traditional journalism sucks. It's like, well, but you have no right to speak because you're not one.
And I will also say it does piss me off that when I search this up, it's like heartfelt moment with reporter. None of this sounded heartfelt because he was uncomfortable the whole damn time.
I get the notion. I get what she was doing, kinda, but you also gotta realize, and just
he's the head coach. He said that to his team in the locker room.
And the thing is just like with everything in life, there's a time and a place for everything. That's not the time and place for that.
The time and place for that is after the presser.
Where
it's respectable.
And the thing is too, you're creating because some people love it, some people hate it. But it's okay, so you're creating a real, controversial kind of moment here, and it's that's also going to reflect kind of poorly on you in the end. So,
absolutely, I think it does.
So it's okay, you got something kind of cool out of it. And listen, we talk about, kind of when we're doing the whole Christmas stuff and spreading cheer, like Scoop was saying, Scoop was doing, and all these different things. Like, that's good, but it's also in terms of journalism, like, that's not a journalist's time and place to do that. You don't do that in a journalistic setting. You're as a journalist, no matter, like, for any setting where you're interviewing somebody or a post game or even out in the news world when you're gathering information and trying to talk to people about it. Mm-hmm. Your job is to quite literally gather information, to get a story, to get a different angle, to find ways to create a story. So
basic. You know what? That's basically what September 5 is. So there you go.
Yeah, like, but it's like, and it's like, and that'll lead us into that in a little bit. But it's like, so it's like, you're not helping. You're wasting time. And here's the thing, especially in journalism, it's all about deadlines, and time is money. So you are wasting time getting that out there when you're not asking a question that pertains to anything. You're not trying to get an answer as to a decision he might have made, so which could help you craft a story when you figure out his decision-making process. Like, so if you're going on a spin angle about, what was this about, what was that about, okay, then you can do that. Like, there's different ways you can go about this. So it's like, you're not gaining anything by saying that to him in that scenario, and you're making him uncomfortable. And the thing is, the worst thing you want to do as a journalist is to make the person you are asking questions to or interviewing uncomfortable.
Right.
The very last thing you want to do.
Even at the end of an interview, and Scoop and anyone else listening, I would recommend watching the video because it actually adds a lot of context.
That's a big
I just found the article on the Bleacher Report, and so I'm kind of like I literally have, like, I've got you guys here and I've got the thing, like, superimposed, and I was kind of perusing it, and it seems like the classic sort of situation where it's like, get the point. I get the point. I see, like, that their intentions were in the right place. But I think the execution of it flopped.
Right. Oh, it absolutely did. Again, he was really uncomfortable, so bear that in mind. And by the way, you can hear.
Yeah, well, that to me is kind of the biggest. And it may not be for anybody else, but for me, that is the biggest issue.
Yes, I think 100%.
Like if this is a first year coach, for example, and you can tell that he's like. Because, like, I've seen coaches like Dan Campbell, for example, who get, like, really passionate, really emotional. Like, if you're saying that at the end of the press conference and it's that, like, I can see that a little bit more understandable. Like,
I mean, this was at the end. This was right at the end.
Wrong. No, but my point is, I think that, and maybe that's just me. Like, I can see areas in which I wouldn't have had much of a problem with that. And I still don't think I have as much of a problem with it as other people do. And I completely, again, I acknowledge that I'm probably not looking through this through the lens that some other people are. Holy shucks.
Yeah.
And again, that's you guys have more. A couple of you guys have more background with certain things than I do. But again, like you guys said, like there's a line between professionalism and whatnot. And I didn't originally, honestly, see what you guys were saying, but as I look through it more now, I can definitely see where, like you said, but one obviously the biggest thing with him being uncomfortable, but also more along the lines of just, you're there to do a job, you're not there to, socialize.
I'm not there to console somebody who's a head coach who's trying to console his team. He's a head coach. He already knows this information.
And also in some ways, even if it is a heartfelt comment that she does make, also as a head coach too, after a bad loss, it's kind of sometimes that can also be the last thing you want to hear.
Oh, I'm positive. I'm positive. Yeah. Can I play this really quick?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
please.
Okay. So really quickly, we know Liam Cohen's demeanor impressors, right? The Duval thing. So keep in mind, like, we've heard Liam Cohen talk in pressers the whole year. He's really articulate. He has a wide range of emotions. So even from the perspective of this, like me just playing it, just listen to the way he speaks. You'll know that he's uncomfortable. And that's a huge problem.
How you doing today? Lynn Jones, Jacksonville Free Press News.
Jacksonville Free Press News. I'm telling you, these people don't cover sports that well. I'm just going to say that right now.
Anything with a free press thing? Yeah, no.
Yeah. That's just the thing. All right, here we go.
How you doing today? Lynn Jones, Jacksonville Free Press News. I just want to tell you congratulations on your success, young man. You hold your head up, all right? You guys have had a most magnificent season. You did a great job out there today. So you just hold your head up, okay? And ladies and gentlemen, Duval, you the one, all right? You keep it going. We got another season, okay? Take care. Much continued success to you and the entire team.
Thank you, ma'am.
Liam Cohen is acting like that's his mother or something, or some random woman on the street. This is not okay.
As somebody who lives in the South, I could almost picture this woman in my head.
So can I. Yeah. So can I.
I saw her respond to this today.
Wait,
I didn't watch it yet.
Hang on. What's the woman's name? Do you happen to see it right there?
I haven't, but I saw a video of her responding to it.
I was just asking because I wanted to see if she looks exactly like I envisioned her to look.
I can tell you right now, and we all have the same thought of just like, sweet little old Southern lady. Like, yeah, like I already know, man.
Yeah,
I already know.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing that you have to understand about the NFL playoffs, especially the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
This is okay. I'm going into a media sports thing that angers the crap out of me.
Okay.
I hate when non-sports reporters do sporting events. I genuinely hate it. And it's the same thing with September 5 is a very specific case where it made a lot of sense, and we'll get to why. But in most cases, I don't want a sports person doing anything political or news related. In 99% of cases, other than September 5. And it's just like...
Sorry. I just have to say, I found a photo of this woman. Could not look more like the woman I envisioned in my head.
This is just... it's just... Yeah, Southern woman. Okay. And by the way, we're not trying to be racist here. We're just being kind of honest about the way she speaks.
No, I'm not. I didn't bring it up in any racial way whatsoever. I'm just saying.
No, and again, I'm just saying that's not our intention here.
No,
I live among people who sound exactly like she, or very much like she sounds, and knowing my interactions with them, like they're the kind of person who I'll like interact with in the morning. I'm like, oh, I'm going to have a great day, but that's not exactly what you're going for when you're doing a post game press conference,
right? And so that brings up my point. Like when I'm on so this happens every time when the Seahawks are really good, like this year. Like I'm driving back home from Pete's physical therapy with my mom, and it's just like and there was they're just like, oh, I'm really happy when people in the media are talking good about the Seahawks. I'm like, so you haven't watched like half of the season, have you? Why are you commenting on this on local news radio? You don't watch the games until the playoffs. Like you don't. So don't it pisses me off. It's the same thing as if I were to cover an international war. I'd be way over my head. I wouldn't know what to do. That's not my job. Like, what are we doing here? And of course, again, September 5, the movie we're going to get to, is a very specific and different situation. And we'll get to why. Anyway, it's dumb. It's really dumb. We were teasing the betting lines for a little bit. But before I do that, Scoop, the one thing I want to commend you on, I guess, and the one thing we'll go on for this game, Panthers did really well. And honestly, I can't believe we're saying it after we just trashed a woman kind of saying this on national media, but it's a pretty damn good way to end the season if you're the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah. That was again, there was a reason why they beat the Rams previously, and again, the fact that they were as like they were at times this year what we thought the Atlanta Falcons could be in terms of the way that they were playing against some of these better teams. And I think that they're going to, if they have a good offseason, I'm curious to see what they'll be able to do in the NFC South next year. It's so weird. The NFC South was just the most annoying division of crap teams that look like they should be good.
I mean, They had 3, 8, and 9 teams. That tells you all you need to know right there.
They had the Falcons and Panthers, who were beating teams they shouldn't beat and losing the teams they shouldn't lose to. They had the Buccaneers, who went from Jekyll to Hyde in 5 seconds, and they went from and they had the Seattle Seahawks. The New Orleans Saints. Rather, wake up. They had
the Seahawks would love to play that division.
Yeah, they had the New Orleans Saints, who, if Coach Kellen Moore had literally 2 more players, one on offense and one on defense, probably finds a way to sneak that team at least into the playoffs or at least into contention in the final week. Like, it just that division was just a classic example of just these teams look like they should be better than they are. Every single freaking one of them.
Did you know what the funniest thing I saw about because I think in total, I think because of how their records kind of evened out, that they had the most wins as a total division. Yeah. So I saw like Bucks fans and like Falcons fans, like all the fans of those teams are coming together. It's like, bro, that's like the guy on the 3rd place on the stand popping the champagne in his face. Bro, you won the most out of any division in the NFL this year, but you're still crap. Who cares?
They were it was just like a friggin' bag of hamsters like stepping on each other.
What the heck is that analogy?
That's Southern.
That is Southern. Okay. Betting lines. Bills at Broncos is our first one on Saturday.
Broncos minus 3.5.
Also, make your pick. So, make your pick of who wins, Shane.
Broncos.
Yeah, I'm going to say Broncos win, obviously. And then I was going to go one less. I'm going to say Broncos. I think Vegas is going to really buy into the Bills now. So, I think I'll say Broncos, but I'll say Broncos minus 2.5.
Scoop.
I'll say Broncos minus, wait, what did Shane say?
3.5.
3.5?
I'll say Broncos minus 4.5, and if they cover that, I'll be happier than a pig in shit.
Who are you taking for that game? Who are you actually picking?
The Bronchidoos.
Okay. Jesus Christ, guys. Broncos minus 1.5. Go low.
Wow, we all went one up from it. Jesus. Well, you know what I was thinking, though? I was thinking in my head, I'm like, you know what? This could be another Jacksonville game where they don't know who to pick, so it's technically a pick 'em.
Yeah, this is technically a pick 'em. Are we all taking Seattle over San Francisco?
Hell yeah.
Where's the game again?
Yeah.
Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So there's that. Betting line for 49ers at Seahawks on Fox Saturday night.
I mean, hell, if our line against them was 5.5 for us, and our OC is brain dead, then for you guys who have good coaching and a pretty good roster, I'm gonna say the only thing is division games are tight, but you get kind of favored at home. But just because it's a division game, and I think that matters, that's going to drag it down by a point. So I'll say Seattle minus 4.5.
I'm going Seattle minus 6.5.
Normally I don't do this, but I was going to say the same thing, and I'm going to stick with it. Seattle minus 6.5.
Jesus Christ, Seattle minus 7.5.
Oh my God, that's a big line. That's a big line. Jesus.
They really do not believe in the 49ers. Holy smokes.
I mean, hell, they didn't believe in them against us. The line was 5.5 with us.
Well, but I know, but they at least showed like genuine like playoff ability in that game.
Yeah. We're all taking the Patriots. Duh. We'll watch.
Back it up. Against whom?
Texans.
The Texans.
And the game is in New England, right?
New England. We're all taking New England, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what that is? If that, I would. I don't trust CJ Stroud for shit. So,
but hear me out. The Patriots, Houston's got a very good defense, and if you can stifle some of the playmakers around Drake May, I mean, he's still a young quarterback, and we saw him struggle recently at the end of the season.
You're missing a key point. You're
What's
missing a
that?
very key thing.
What's
Drake
that?
May is getting the ball out in less than 2 seconds.
yeah. And yeah,
Like,
Drake-
he's
Drake
getting the
May-
ball
Drake
off
May-
right at 2 seconds.
Drake
He's
May's like a
just,
robot.
he's just
Drake May's a
catching,
robot.
throw,
Yeah.
catch, throw. It's way too fast. The Texans aren't going to be able to get there.
And not just that, but the Texans, listen, they could sack Drake May 10 times. That offense sucks and can't score. So, and the only reason they did late tonight is because the Steelers finally just waved the white flag. So
Yeah. So are you taking the Patriots scoop, or are you a little tighter still?
I'll come back to that after we talk for a minute.
Okay, that's fine. Texans at Patriots. What is the line?
I mean, hell, like if Seattle was 7.5 against the Niners, that's got to be. I'm going to say New England, and I'm going to say New England minus 9.5.
I'm gonna. I feel like it's gonna be close. I'll say New England minus 3.5.
That's. I hate to keep doubling up, but that's exactly what I was going to say.
New England minus 3.
Really?
So does that?
Yeah,
Does
Vegas-
that?
Vegas-
Is that?
So-
Vegas
so-
and the Texans can put up a fight. I don't see how.
So basically, they're saying that home field advantage, because we say that that's 3 points, they're saying that that's going to make the difference in this game.
Which I can't understand.
But that's why I went higher, because New England's at home. Drake May is the far better quarterback. The Texans can't score offensively. Like all Drake May has to do is get them to 14 points and they win. So like
Also-
I don't see how,
Also, Rob, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Where were you getting that Drake May is getting the ball out that quickly? Because what I have here is that his T to throw is 2.81 seconds.
Wow, it's big. It looks faster on TV.
well
That's really weird.
he processes.
Okay,
the thing
so-
is, I think his throwing
Okay.
motion is a little long, but his processing is quick. That's what it is.
That's fair.
Okay, so that's what I'm seeing on TV, Scoop. If that makes sense.
Got it. Yeah, I got you now.
So what are you taking, Scoop?
Texans.
You're taking Houston. Okay.
I'm taking Houston.
Okay. I'm okay. Totally fine. We'll see what happens.
I think
And
this game
finally,
is probably a lot closer than we think it is. Personally.
possibly, yeah. Rams Bears. Does anyone here trust Chicago?
Not one bit.
No.
Because you know what it is. You know what it is. It's not going to be no Packers Bears where the Packers go cold for a whole damn quarter and a half. The Rams are going to keep their foot on the gas pedal, and then the Bears are not going to catch up in the fourth quarter. I'm tired of Bears fans believing in Tim Tebow 2.0, where he sucks for three quarters and only shows up in the fourth. I'm tired of this. So if the Rams don't beat them, I don't know what devil magic the Bears would have to use to beat them, but you can't play like crap for 3 quarters against the Rams and win. You're not going to. It's not the Packers. It's not the Eagles. No. The Rams, if you play like crap for 3 quarters, that game will be over halfway through the third quarter. For real this time.
Yeah.
So, no way.
Yeah. All right. Betting line.
I mean, Chicago gets the 3 points off the bat, but I think the Rams are way better. So I'm going to say Rams. I'm picking the Rams. I'm going to say, obviously. And I'm picking them. I'm going to say Rams minus. Realistically, that should be a big line, but there's too much belief in Vegas for the Bears, and that's pretty obvious by how many freaking times their delusional fan base voted for the Pro Bowl.
The delusional fans voting for the Pro Bowl are the same people placing bets on Chicago to win the Super Bowl. So there you go.
Exactly. That's why. So I'm going to say Rams I'll say Rams minus 5.5.
I'm gonna say Rams minus 4.5.
I'm gonna say we're gonna do this thing again. I'm gonna go Rams minus 3.5.
That is correct. Good job.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, so there we go. September 5. Are you guys ready for one of the toughest movies we watched all year long?
Yerps.
I'll be back.
Okay.
1 second.
Okay. No, it's fine. I want to wait for Brandon because I got a good tease for this. No, but dang, this man leaves right when I'm going to tell a story.
And with that, he leaves.
I was going to tell a story about this film. While Brandon is gone, we can talk about the 2 films that we're doing in the next 2 weeks. What are we doing? So, Scoop, we have you next week. What are you taking for us? What ride are you taking us on next week?
Yeah, so I'm really excited about this one. This was a room that I watched. Why did I just say that? A movie that I watched right when it first came out, which was around 2014. This is a John Hamm movie, and he basically it's based on a true story first and foremost. There was a competition that was led where a sports agent basically helped represent 2 baseball pitchers who came over, but they had played as in the foreign league as I can't remember if it was rugby or cricket. No, it was cricket.
Cricket. Yeah.
Cricket?
And yep. And so the story is not just a baseball story, but it's also a story about they're coming over here, the things that they go through for the first time, their adjustments to living here. I think John Hamm is a fantastic, not only a great actor, but I think he does great in the role that he's in. I love at times you're able to easily forget that he's not actually got that background, if that makes sense. And yeah, I love when movies can kind of overlap something that I'm really passionate about with something that is also just like a very human story, if that makes sense. That people can find compelling, whether they have a care about sports or not. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I'm glad you guys, were supportive of the selection.
Well, for me, my biggest thing is like I love doing sports movies, like sports movies when we get around the off season. Yeah, I think that's really fun. Just get it ready for the football season. But I do like that this has an added kind of personal drama element. Brandon,
I apologize. I was dying internally.
No, you're okay. Brandon, can you preview the movie that you're going to do for conference title week?
Yeah. So, because I heard the very end of you guys talking about Scoops. So, yeah, mine, because I was thinking about it, and I'm like, I remember seeing it as I was looking for, and I watched bits and pieces of this movie, never the full thing. But I remember I came across it literally like maybe a day or 2 ago, again, as I was looking through movies to watch just in my free time.
That was good timing.
And so I was like, you know what? I'm like, I've always wanted to watch this movie in full. I just never did. And I think now it's available on HBO Max, I think. But it's called The Town. And The Town is just a really good movie. The thing is, I like any kind of like, I guess you could say heist-ish. I mean, it's about it's about bank robbery. It is a crime thriller film.
Is it a Boston film?
Yeah, it's in Boston. Yeah. And of course, you've got Ben Affleck, who is a native, who also, he wrote it, directed it, stars in it, and you would think, oh, Ben Affleck, hit or miss actor. Yeah, this one's a hit. This movie's great. Cast is fantastic. We'll talk about all that when we get to it. But that movie, there's a reason why, I've always heard people talk about it, and I've always wanted to watch it in full. And I've seen a couple scenes here and there, but it's a movie. The way I narrowed it down also was not because I saw it a day or 2 ago, but I was like, you know what? I want to kind of stick with kind of gritty, not grittier, I guess like kind of these action thriller films that I like, that's in my wheelhouse, like that I would go see in theaters if I was watching a movie. And when I was like, you know what, I'm like, I'm just curious, what's the rating on Rotten Tomatoes? And it's a 92%. So,
this is the 92% film you were talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. That didn't click in my head before.
So yeah, this movie.
I'm curious what those one would be.
Yeah, when I saw that, it just confirmed that I was like, okay, yeah, I want to do this. And so anything, and it's technically based on a whole era and kind of in Boston area in Boston where bank robberies and robbers live and they thrive in. There's like their own little community. That's why it's called The Town. It's based on Charlestown. So I just figured, hey, it's somewhat realistic and there's some accuracy issues, but every movie's got that. So, but yeah, I remember seeing the trailer for it growing up when it first came out and thinking, oh, this movie looks like a hit even when I was little, and just never went to see it. Only saw bits and pieces. So now we get to do it in full for conference championship weekend. So it'd be a good one.
Yes, Scoop. We were asking on our chat, what does the ratings mean for your film? 65 on the tomato meter means average for critics, and 68 means average for viewers. 60 is like average, which honestly, I think this is going to be better than average. Honestly, I would imagine.
Yeah, I was just curious. I was just curious. And again, I know that movies are subjective. I know that people can watch, highly acclaimed movies and it's not their thing. I know that people can watch, you guys think that one of my favorite movies of all time is a crap movie, which again,
what movie is it?
Draft Day.
Oh, I think the movie's awful, but I also love it.
Well, that's my point. It's just like I know that stuff is subjective, so like I don't I was just curious because I have not really used the Rotten Tomato before. So
you should look up the Rotten Tomatoes for Draft Day. It's like people hate it.
But see, here's the thing. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I only dislike Draft Day. Not because it's a bad movie necessarily, but because it portrays the Cleveland Browns as being a competent organization, and so I just can't take it seriously.
Well, it's also, keep in mind, this came out in 2014, so I went there and I was already, like, the first scene, I was like, this is historically inaccurate. The Seahawks would never have the first overall pick.
Yeah,
that is true. Okay, so I'm going to read what I wrote about September 5, firstly, before I kind of start my spiel, and I know, Shane, you have to go in a few minutes, so I will let you go first. But before we go on September 5, I do want to be very clear, speak for the whole group here. This is about the Israel-Palestine conflict. That is the central thing of this movie. And that stuff has been going on forever, and it's as awful as can be on both sides. But I do want to be very clear that the reason that I selected it for us, even though that piece of it is really hard, because obviously it's still an awful situation, the reason I selected it was, one, so we could talk about the broadcast journalism things. And secondly, for Shane, I wanted to see what he thought of it as an actual film. So those are the two things we're going to focus on for our purposes. Because really what I think this movie is it's an amazing kind of thinking piece of our roles as media people. And that's what I want to push this conversation towards. I think that's what's most important. So as the story goes, me and my friend Justin, what we do when we hang out is we'd say, let's find a movie and go to the movie theater. And it doesn't have to be this big budget movie. It could be like a little indie. This one's a little bit indie because I think the budget was really small and it only made.
I've never heard of it. So yeah,
right. It did make a ton of money at the box office, but I saw the Rotten Tomatoes for it and I was like, wow, this looks really interesting. The fact that we've never heard anything about this story in school is awful because the whole thing is just awful, and I think it's never heard of it. I've never heard it, and it's amazing that it's never been told in schools. I think this movie should be watched in any broadcast journalism class that you ever have. That's also part of why I chose it.
Mm-hmm.
But still, like, we always watch. I recommended it to him because he was about to leave town. I was like, hey, we should go see a movie. What about this movie? And he's like, okay, let's go see it. We were in the theater. We were shook. I mean, the whole hour and 30 minutes, and I had the same feeling watching it today. I remember myself sitting in the theater just shocked, shook, disgusted by so much of it. But also, like, we need to watch this for the show because we got three journalism people here. We got a movie guy. This is perfect. Okay. The way I found the clip. This is going to lead, this 30-second clip is going to lead us into the whole conversation about the broadcast media thing and the movie thing. This is Peter Skarsgård, and the clip is called "This Is Our Story." So this is him kind of saying, hey, this is what this whole movie is about. It's about the focus of the story over everything else, for better or for worse. So here's the clip.
Okay, look, I know this isn't a responsibility that everyone wants. But does it make more sense to have a talking head from news take over from halfway across the world? Our job is to tell the stories of these individuals whose lives are at stake 100 yards away. And our job is really straightforward. We put the camera in the right place, and we follow the story as it unfolds in real time. News can tell us what it all meant after it's over, and I'm sure they're going to try. But this is our story. And we're keeping it.
And so that's going to lead us into just everything that happened here and what this conversation is going to go. So Shane, from a film perspective, before I let you go, what hit you in this film? What things do you want to mention, and what's your rating?
Yeah, I thought this was interesting. How it's very unique. Because it's not showing you this whole thing unfolding, on the ground where the terrorists and athlete hostages and whoever else are. It's it's from a from the ABC newsroom or what
The ABC, not even news, the ABC sports people that haven't ever covered news forever.
Right. And there's I think the quick runtime really benefits this movie because it portrays it as the very tense, kind of fast moving, urgent situation that it is. If this was dragged on for 2.5 hours, I'd have been like, oh my God. But it wasn't. And
really quick, just to be clear, I was the only one who saw this movie, right? You guys have never seen this or ever really heard about it. Okay, so continue, Shane.
This is only the second time in the history of our show where I was doing a first time watch for a movie. So that was kind of fun.
It's impressive.
But that's well. Anyways,
what was that? movie person. By the way, that this is the reason we do this, is because I asked Shane, like, hey, we need a post-credit segment. Would you mind giving us movies? That's literally what it was. Anyway, Shane, continue.
Yeah, but at its okay. Before I say this, let me talk about some of my cons first.
No, go for it. This movie isn't perfect, by the way. It's not.
No, so the fact that it's so focused on the sports journalist people, like I said, it's an interesting, unique perspective. But it kind of, to me, I mean, there's the urgency and the, just kind of the tension, but it feels like it lacks kind of an emotional core or element to it. And I get why that's absent, because that's,
The emotional core is supposed to come from you being angry at the situation, which works in certain respects and doesn't work in others.
There is a little bit of it in the German translator girl because it affects.
Oh, the German translator girl, it affects her insanely for obvious reasons, but
yeah, I mean that was like, so yeah, there's that. But also, I feel like it kind of. I feel like they assume you already know the story more or less, like, of this situation.
Yeah,
which a lot of people don't, which is weird.
I didn't. I had no idea. Which, like you were saying, why do more people not know about this? But that's,
which is, I think, part of why the movie was made. But the intentionality wasn't always there. Yeah.
Yeah, and so for part of the movie, I was kind of just sitting there being like, "Wait, what's going on?" Like,
But can I ask you this question though? Do you think, because this is how I felt the first time I watched it, because I didn't know much about it, I felt like I was kind of reliving it as it was happening, sort of, but not like in the best way, as you said, because it is a newsroom perspective. But like the ending, for instance, you're like, oh, everything's great, and then, oh, everything's actually really shit. And you're sort of reacting like them in real time, I guess, if that makes sense. Do you kind of agree with that? Or like...
No, I do. And, again, I get why they made it the way they did. I think it's just for me personally, it felt like there was kind of a almost not limited, but like a, the perspective we got was like just journalists in a dark room, basically, for the entire time. Like there wasn't a lot of moving around, seeing different things, getting different perspectives, like, but overall, I think at the core of it, and this I really like, is kind of the the uncomfortable questions that it asks. Like, should journalists broadcast live during a crisis situation
where people can get shot on live TV?
Yeah, I mean, it's what's happening is obviously a very serious humanitarian issue, but like, is it also kind of invasive? And like, this coverage, does it endanger people? We explored a little bit of that in Nightcrawler at the beginning of the year, and this one, it's more of the same. Granted, this one is, I think, a much more obviously realistic look at that.
Because it actually happened, or it's a true story, but yeah.
Right, yeah, for sure. And, I guess basically just kind of like the line of, between like keeping people informed, but also just like exploiting a tragic situation. And it doesn't really... It doesn't really answer those questions either. It kind of leaves it up to you, which
can I also
which
add
I
to that?
like.
Can I also add to that really quick? I'm sorry for interrupting, but
no.
I think part of the reason that it's done that way, and we'll get to that as we go to the broadcast journalism part. And I also emphasized this to you guys when I was talking about the movie in our chat. I was like, part of the reason that some of this stuff is unethical but also isn't is, number one, they just didn't know. Because this is 1972. Yeah. This is the first time in human history that you have color television, satellite, reporters on the ground in an Olympic Games. They don't know what the morality line is. How are they supposed to know? They have to react. They can't go into a dark room and talk for 30 minutes about the morality issue, because if they do that, they lose everything that is actually happening. They don't have the time for that. They have to make these split-second decisions. It's live. They have to make these split-second decisions. Some are incredibly wrong by today's standards. Some are also incredibly right by today's standards. But also, part of it, I think, ultimately, and we'll get to this in a bit, is that if this doesn't happen, broadcast journalism isn't where it is. The laws, the rules and regulations, the way broadcast journalism has grown, all this stuff doesn't occur without this moment in these group of people's decisions, right or wrong. Anyway, continue, Shane.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the the gist of it, I think, more or less. And a lot of times it drives me crazy, like and I've talked about this before, when a director leaves something open-ended as far as like a plot point, where it's like, what do you think happened in the plot after this? It's like, no, it's your story. Tell me. But when a film is asking questions like, ethical questions that we are supposed, it's like, no, I want us, the audience, to think about that and discuss that, and not just have you preach your opinion to us,
And that's exactly what this movie does. Yeah, and that's and I appreciate that, because we see a lot of movies today, have very strong opinions about a lot of things, and it's like, I'm not here to listen to you preach your views about this or that. I'm here to, enjoy a story and get different perspectives on it, and and then kind of make my own judgment. But So what's your overall rating?
For me, it's an A-.
Yes,
Yes,
I got him to say A. Yes, I knew it. Yes.
It's like,
yes.
Yeah, I think it's like right at 90 for me, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, so, much better pick than Tenet.
I knew that.
I'm just messing with you.
I mean, it can only go up from Tenet. So
Yeah,
true.
It can go up from 10 to something better.
It could be. It could be Venom.
Oh Lord.
I'm so glad Sony's giving back the characters. All right. Well, Shane, we'll let you
great
go.
pick, Rob. Well done.
Yes.
I'm proud of you, my son.
Yes, honestly, this is a I'm proud of you, my son moment, because he's a huge reason I'm a movie guy. So there you go.
You finally swayed the Russian judge. Good job.
Yes, indeed.
All right, Shane, we'll let you go. Have a wonderful rest of your night, and we'll see you on Sunday, brother.
Thanks, guys. I'll listen to the end of this later on.
All right, peace.
Night, Shane.
See you.
Night, Shane.
Okay, so as I mentioned, Brandon, as I went on that spiel with Shane about the ethical and non-ethical things about this, the line is really hard because this is the first time they've ever had to experience that. And again, it changed the course of broadcast history for better or for worse in a bunch of cases that I know you'll get to and Scoop will get to. But for you, from a broadcast journalism perspective, I'm sure this is a movie, and part of the reason I picked it, that really appealed at your emotions in terms of our role in media and what you, because we talk about this all the time. Like we just did it with the Liam Cohen thing. I'm pretty sure this kind of tore at you in different ways.
And the thing is, I like this better than when we did Nightcrawler, because Nightcrawler obviously is fictionalized, way more fictionalized. And it's not, it's journalism, yes, but it's more so from a perspective of a wire, quote unquote, wire service. And so it's not like when you get stuff from a wire service, it's kind of like, I don't want to call it this way, but it kind of is. It's kind of just like, it's not real journalism. It's just somebody giving you information or getting information. It's not quite actually like the journalistic process of crafting a story. So it's a little bit different. And also just the fact that but you know, especially for that movie, like almost all of that journalism, quote unquote journalism in that movie is highly unethical. Like that would never fly at any, like anything today. But this one blurs that line. And I like that because there's other movies, there's a similar movie to this one, not based on a true story, but similar movie to this one that features Sally Field and Paul Newman, and I remember watching it for a journalism class in college, or was it in college? Yeah, in college. It was for one of my journalism classes. Can't remember what the hell it's called. I will find it later. But a lot of that had very kind of ethical and unethical journalism. I love movies that kind of blend that line, and this one does that because Nightcrawler is just unethical all the way through. Everything about that's unethical. But this one, the first time, now there's other points, but the first time that really obviously was like highly unethical was sending the journalist out there and trying to disguise him as a USA team member.
Oh, that's incredibly unethical.
That's so unethical. It's damn near illegal.
But by the way, I assume that them doing that actually helped create that law.
Yeah,
that's also part of my point.
Yeah, that's what it is. But my God, man, like that is very, very unethical. That's not how you're supposed to get a story. But back then they did take those kinds of risks.
There we go. Shane said it's absence of malice. Paul Newman, Silent Field.
Yep.
There we go.
Yep, that's
Thank
it.
you,
Absence
Shane.
of malice. I knew it was something with an A. I just couldn't remember it. Because that movie is actually really good. I didn't think I'd be impressed by it. And my the thing is, you're watching it in a journalism class, and your professor's like, "Oh, we were going to watch this week," and you're like, "Oh, okay, it's a crappy movie." No, it's actually a really, really good movie. I thought about picking that for one of my movies the last couple of years. That's how much I actually liked it. And I probably will next year, actually. So,
and we can get to compare the two a little bit. It's good.
Yeah, and you'll see what I'm talking about. If we, you know what, that I would want to do that next year. That one I'll probably just remember that for next year. But, or hell, even in the off season we could. But for this one, so that was unethical. Obviously, the whether or not to, you know, air the footage because it's never been done before. That, you know, you're kind of fighting your superiors in that situation and whatnot, and you know there's I have to go back and watch it because I was watching it as my grandmother was asking me questions about stupid stuff in the house. So like I wasn't like 100% focused on it, but I watched all of it, just a couple parts I might have missed, but or you know just didn't quite pay full attention to, but at the same time, but it doesn't take away the impact from the movie. And like I said, it's a short enough movie to where it keeps it just I got all of it anyway. But with this, you know, it's also, you know, the whole boots on the ground thing. Now at that time, you know, now you have to do that to get stories because everybody sends their reporters out into the field. But back then, that was kind of like especially in that kind of situation, being that close to danger, it was like, do you send your reporter out there? Yes or no? You know, do you send your crew out there?
Well, it's not only that. It's the fact that in this era, it's very different to nowadays, where the news has an opinionated voice, and I think there was, obviously we don't know what ABC News said about it in the days after, but I assume there was some opinionated pieces of that, of course, because that's the kind of situation it was in. But they were also like, we're not giving this to news. We're not giving this to someone halfway across the world because we're right here. There's no reason for someone to get reports that delayed and all these things. We're right here.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
But that's also why I love it too, because And I love the fact I love the quote that you played from the movie, because that quote did stick in my head too. That this is our story. We're gonna roll with it. That this is ours because we're here and they're not. And that's a thing that in journalism is very important. That that's why I also don't like to. I love that it kind of had its own little 10-second little snippet in the movie of basically the actual news team or news side of ABC telling them, hey, this is ours because this is a global issue and you're just a sports team.
Yeah.
Like no, that's not how this works. Like that's
not how it should. For this instance,
it's not how it should work.
The head of the ABC Studios guy, well, some of it was also because he wanted it for his own personal gain, but at the same time, like, bro, we're here.
Yeah. And it's what's funny is that those same sentiments about, hey, sports shouldn't handle this because you guys are basically the little guys, those same sentiments are still ringing around in journalism rooms today. That, hey,
exactly, yeah,
that the sports guys are the lowest branch of journalism, that it's not real journalism because it's sports. It's like, no, it is. And you can see why in this movie it is. Because the way that they handled this, for this being a first-time event to occur for journalism, and for this to be, they are still putting journalism practices into full effect here and making these big swinging decisions for them being a quote unquote sports broadcast, a sports news team. So for anyone that says that sports journalism is not a real thing, it absolutely is.
You should watch this movie. That's what it is.
Yeah, you should watch this movie. But it's the kind of the cool thing about the end of this movie that I like is the line where help me out. What's the main head of control? His name?
Well, I forgot, but either way, just
the guy that controls the news, that controls the newsroom, and then is telling all the guys to, hey, pan here. I forget what it's called.
I forgot the guy. He's just the head director. He basically directed. No, I don't remember the name. Anyway, that guy. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but he gets called into the office by his boss at the end of the movie. And I like that he just says to him about what tomorrow's news cycle is going to be, like how they're going to start it. But he says to him, he's like, basically, I'm going to paraphrase this, but he says, you may not know it, but you did a good job today. Like, you may not know it yet, but you did a good thing today.
And not only that, I think the bravery in a lot of these situations because it's like, there's like cameramen who've never operated a camera before. And then there's him who's a B team for the Olympics.
Yeah.
With everyone taking a day off and saying, you have to take the lead on this because we have no one else to flipping do it. Do it. And do it for freaking 20 hours.
And basically, they're running off of very little sleep, obviously, because this happens in the middle of the night. So everybody's exhausted. Everybody's confused. Everybody is trying to pull stuff pretty much out of their ass because the regular team is not there, so they're pulling from their B and C team. In some cases,
do you know how many times they asked for coffee in this movie in like the first 30 minutes? Like 5 times. Like, give me a coffee. Give me a coffee.
And it's not just that. Like, hell, one of the guy Rune even says, basically, I think it's Rune that says this. He's like, I can't go out in the field. I have no cameraman. He's like, oh, what about this guy? Okay, he's not here today. Yep. What about this guy? They went to like the 4th or 5th string guy, which is like some random production assistant, and said, "Hey, you know how to hold a camera? Yeah, go out there and do it." Like,
yeah, you know how to hold a camera? You know how to work tape? Yes, go. There's your guy. Go.
I love how that line at the end of the movie kind of ties in everything you saw throughout the movie about, like, hey, you may not know it, but you did it. You may not know it yet, but you did a good thing today. Basically, because of what they had to work with, that's about the best you could do. And not just that, but I take it as a double meaning, because when he says that, you may not know it yet, but you did a good thing today, because that impacted the future of journalism. That moment impacted impacted the way journalism is done to this day. So, like, it's kind of a cool, man on the moon type moment, and which they even reference in this.
Right. So that was something I was gonna say. More people, 900 million people watched this live. More than Neil Armstrong's landing on the moon.
Yep.
900 million, which again brings up this point. Why was this never taught in schools? 900 million people watched this damn thing.
We had journalism classes in college. This was never brought up in any of my journalism classes by any professor I had. I
don't think I had heard of this movie until you guys talked about it.
Well, we did. Scoop, this came out last year, 2024. I think it was 2024 or 2 years ago. Yeah, because it was 2024, and I watched it and I was like, "Why have I?" Not only have I never, regardless of it being a movie,
the subject matter of it,
the subject matter. Why isn't this in every broadcast textbook in human history? This is the most important thing.
Journalism.
Yeah,
journalism.
Yeah. You're talking about the actual sequence of events that I mean
real life story.
I didn't know about that. I didn't know about that either. I'll say that.
Right, like exactly. So I don't understand that. I really don't. And this movie, I pray to God this movie gets played in every journalism class for the next 50 years.
Oh, it should.
That's how impactly this is.
It makes me want to It makes me want to reach out to like my former like journalism professors and things like that and be like, "Hey, have you seen this?"
Yeah, exactly. You know what's funny? I might actually do that because I know
you should.
I know because I know the professor that I had that played us the Absence of Malice movie. He would go nuts over something like this.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely ask him, "Hey, play this." But the thing is too, and there's one thing I kind of want to tie this all together with when I was talking about the whole Pat McAfee thing, and Pat had said something today when referencing that Liam Cohen and Lynn Jones thing, and he had said that sports journalists or journalists in general, especially sports journalists, always want to be negative. Basically, I'm paraphrasing, but said always want to be negative. They they don't actually like sports because they're always looking for a negative spin on it and whatnot. And he was saying he's like they're looking for negative stories. And basically, he said that basically sports journalists are political journalists starting out in sports, so they can get to be in front of the camera for the quote unquote bigger news for politics.
Yeah, that happens to people. Yeah,
and which in some cases that has been true and throughout. But I like how this movie too is a blend of sports and politics because it is, but I love how this is a movie that doesn't just blend sports and politics in terms of sports and world politics. It also blends, which is also true to this day in our field and in this industry, the newsroom politics about who gets what job, who decides on this, who gets first priority over this, which news station is going to cover this. So, like, there's all those power plays and politics of the actual newsroom itself that are huge in this. So, it's. But
I also want to bring this up. It's a great tie-in. Howard Cosell comes at the end.
Yeah.
The man, the myth, the legend, Howard Cosell, who did all this world sporting events, and then he became a politician.
Yeah, and like the thing is, I know that when I was watching the show today, I know Pat, his heart was in the right place when he said all these things, but you also have to realize one thing is that journalism is, and this is what every journalist will tell you from those just starting out or just people in media like us, or if it's someone who's been there and is still there well into their 70s and 80s and is a higher up, they'll tell you the same thing. It's not about the emotion of it, because they always say one thing is like, take yourself out of the story, because nothing matters more than the story. So if you have a negative event coming up like this, and this is why we kind of tie this back into the Liam Cohen thing too. The Jaguars just lost. The last thing you should be doing in a professional setting is trying to cheer the man up.
Well, can I ask you a question about that phrasing? Do you think this movie also brings up that question in a way of like what the newsrooms like how the newsroom, I guess, or the sports newsroom in this case, tries to figure out, let's make sure we don't do this, but really they do because it's like Marianne, that woman that we talked about, she's German, and she's like, at the end of the movie, she's like, basically a foreign national or a foreign person died on German soil again. Like, and she was leading a lot of that movie through that emotion. So she tied herself in that way as well. So it's like, it brings up that kind of ethical question as well. It's not black and white.
But then the thing I also think about too is that at the end of the day, she knew that she had a job to do, and the thing is, that's why at the end of the day, even though she does show all that emotion and you do feel bad for her character, but she also understands that the story is what matters here, even though she has her own feelings about it. And the one thing they always say as a journalist when you're writing any kind of story. Now, some cases you can put yourself into the story, but you have to be able to take yourself away from it, take your own feelings out of it, and just get the facts and cover the story, because that is very important. It's like journalism 101 is you have to take yourself out of the story unless it's warranted. You have to take yourself out of it. So it's, then you can react to it later once it's done. But your job comes first in this case. And
right. I'll be honest, a lot of people don't do in journalism nowadays, and it sucks. And that's why the industry's in a bad place.
And that's why, and this is why today, why us reacting to that Liam Cohen thing is like, she put her emotion first before covering the event. And that's not what you do. That's not journalism. So, we're not saying that you should never, ever, ever do it, like in terms like, on your own time, off camera. Go ahead, walk up to Liam Cohen and say, hey, listen, it's tough today, but you did a good thing this whole season.
That's what I'm telling you. That's what everybody does in that press room after the presser. Yeah, they have respect for each other.
Yeah, and then how many times do we hear at the end of the presser? Thank you, coach. Appreciate your time and all this stuff. Like, and a lot of sometimes it's just a formality, but a lot of times they do mean it. So, like, that moment there is why we say, and this, and I hate how Pat kind of slammed traditional journalism. It's like, well, you're not a traditional journalist. You didn't take journalism classes. You wouldn't understand how this is supposed to go, because, and this goes into the whole society without structure kind of argument, that a society without structure is meaningless because you need to have structure. So journalism, structure, that matters. This field needs that because otherwise then you get what we see across all journalism, which is hot takes, bullshit, like all these things that don't matter, that don't pertain to a story, that don't give the people what they need or that they need to hear. You're just talking about what they want to hear, and that's a big problem. So,
and I think just to tie it together to this movie, obviously, again, the Liam Cohen thing is a very different situation, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But to tie it in, it's just kind of saying like this movie is a great example for why the story matters, even if the morality is tough, and we're just focused on, hey, this story right now at that moment was the most important thing in the world. And they dealt it like that.
And you also have to realize too that when it comes to a story like this, and the story that they're covering is, you're not, and I think they even allude to this a little bit, that you're gonna piss somebody off. You're not gonna make everybody happy, and you gotta make these decisions so fast that nowadays we know the protocol for these situations, but back then it was unprecedented. This never happened. So, it's a whole different story when you're dealing with that back then. This is taking place 50 something years ago. So 53 years ago. So
it's 72, yeah.
Yeah, so no, now 54, almost 54 years ago. So it's just, it is really, really tough at that time to deal with that situation. But and now we know better. But like, just in terms of just to bring it back to this movie, because I know I'm getting far out, but when it comes to this movie, and we talk about some of the really good quotes from it, but you couldn't help, and it's weird because I don't get. Now I'm not saying emotional as I'm like tears flowing down my face, but you don't. With a movie like this, I didn't expect to feel the emotion, like, because I almost felt like I was in that. This is the intention of the movie too, is that I didn't expect to feel like I was in the newsroom with them in that moment, and like, oh my god, what's going to happen here? Especially because it's a story that no one's heard before, and it's a true story, so you're hearing it for the first time. So it's not like a story where it's a well-covered world event and you know what the outcome was. Like this was never talked about in school or in any of my journalism classes, like we said. So, you're waiting to see what happens. What's the result here going to be? What's the outcome? Especially, and as someone like us who we know how journalism and how a newsroom works, and it's like. So you're sitting there almost like you're in the newsroom waiting for them to make a decision that's going to decide your fate, pretty much. So, like, it's really interesting that this movie, first of all, it's short, which also makes sense because, like Shane was saying, that the short runtime of this is intentional because because when these things happen live in a newsroom, you only have a few minutes to react to them. So it's basically covering this over the span of a few hours. Or like a day, so it's actually really cool that they kept the runtime so short, but it's really just a movie like this, obviously because it speaks to us being media majors and journalism guys, but it also is like. It grips you in a way where it's like you don't have to be you kind of understand the journalism jargon a little bit, but it's definitely a movie where it's like, especially because a lot of people don't know about this world event, that you could watch this movie and just be engrossed by just captured by the emotion in it, in terms of, because Shane said there's not really an emotional element, but the thing is the emotion kind of comes through in the tension in this movie.
It comes through in the tension, but it comes through from you, because I was gonna watch because I got home from physical therapy and I was like, I'm so tired, I'm gonna watch this in bed. I watched the first 10 minutes, I was like, god damn it, I can't. I'm getting way too hot. Like I was heated again watching it. I was heated in the damn theater. Like I was like I'm heated. I can't do this.
Well, that's you. I don't get like that. That's you. But I didn't think a journalism movie would get somebody hot and bothered. That's
I was. Yeah. Dude, can you imagine? Can you imagine? So I had the exact same emotion I had in the theater. Can you imagine me in a theater watching that? Because that's what I was the first time I saw it.
Yeah, your friend's asking, "Are you okay?"
No, really? because my friend Justin was also gripped by it. We were both just like, "Holy crap!"
And it's like, it's crazy because the images, even for how old they are, the images in this movie, like of the actual terroristic event, it's actually creepy.
Oh yeah.
Like it's
Can you
very.
Imagine being live in that moment and seeing that. You'd be like, "Holy!"
Yeah, no. And the thing is, even the guy that was on the ground, one of the journalists, that was Peter Jennings, and he said that because he stayed out, he was right about 100 feet away from the incident, or so, or 100 yards, whatever it was.
He was the one guy who understood the political outcome too. So they're really lucky.
Yeah, the ramifications of all of it. So. He's the smartest man in this movie, but it's also just crazy how, he's like, these people are reacting to it in a newsroom that's, even further away from where he is. And obviously it's in a controlled lockdown location. So they're okay, but he's outside right where this is happening, trying to piece all this together. Like, that guy's the real hero of all this in this movie, because
And in real life, that's what he did in real life.
yeah. So like, I look at that and I'm like, I couldn't imagine being in that position, because nowadays that's almost commonplace, where they're going to send you somewhere that's dangerous, but they're going to keep you far enough away. But back then there was like no parameters as to how close you really could be, and he was as close as he could be to the fire in that situation.
And then remember at the airport, and everyone's freaking out, and then Howard Cosell, he goes down where the buses are, and there's literally people. There's a bunch of people. There's basically, he explains it this way: there's a person with a camera, and then next to the person with a camera, right directly next to them, is a guy holding like an AK-47.
Yeah.
That would never happen today.
Yeah. No.
Never. It's unbelievable.
It's like it's such an old story, because it's happened. Like I said, it's happened 54 years ago, but if it feels brand new because we've never learned about it. But also, it's like that was quite literally like, so it's like the hair was standing on the back of your neck, because it's wild to think that a story like that existed back then, especially with the knowledge that we have now, but they didn't have that knowledge back then. So like, you felt like we have the knowledge of today's journalistic world and all these different things, and
our standards that are built off this actual moment, pretty much.
So it's like, but it's like, as you're watching this movie, you feel like you're back in that time period where it's like, you don't know what the hell is going to happen here. You just don't know. Like, and that's the scariest thing so that's the scariest thing in the journalism room, is to be helpless, because you try to be as prepared as possible for every outcome in a journalistic setting, but when you're not, it's the worst and kind of almost most just soul bearing, like, I guess, feeling in the world. And it's, and you can see how even these people in that newsroom swing from one emotion to the other, because it's such a volatile situation that they're being like mentally wrecked by this. So like, could you imagine if you're obviously sitting in the theater, much louder sound, you're focusing on a big screen, you're watching this all unfold. You are basically into this movie.
Oh yeah, watching in the theater was amazing, and
that's what makes it great.
And you have to understand, from my perspective, we came into we read the synopsis and we're like, cool, let's go on and watch it. An hour into it, I was like, what did we actually just walk into? What did we actually pick? And then we walked out of it going, that was phenomenal, but we weren't expecting it. That was our reaction. We're just like, because we just picked it because we like movies, and we were just like, holy crap. So what's your rating, Brandon? What do you got?
Now, obviously the journalist in me wants to give it a 10 because it speaks to my heart and soul. But as a movie, like as pure as a movie, it's probably, just because it's such a niche kind of topic, and because it's a limited setting, you're only in a newsroom for 99% of it. So you're only getting a very kind of skewed story from their perspective and things like that. So like as a movie, like as Shane was talking about, like there's issues with it that way. If you just view it as a movie, you could still watch this as a non-journalism person and still, enjoy it, which is what I think. So I'm not going to go as low as like a 6 on it, but as a non-journalism person, you could probably watch this and give it, I would say, a 7.5. But the journalism major in me and the fan of how this is all covered, and then also just the emotions that go into covering a story like this too, then how you kind of have to separate yourself from the story, but also sometimes you just can't help it. And back then they couldn't help it because it was so unique. That bumps it up to, I would say, Shane gave it an A-, but he said it was like a really low A-. He said 90. I'm gonna say 8.5 out of 10. But I really did like it. I'd watch it again.
Yeah, it's a tough watch even on the second. I'll give it a 9. I said my piece throughout all of this. Scoop, listening to us, and then also for you and I specifically, just sourcing things throughout this movie. It's like we need 2 confirmed sources. We need this, we need that, and then at the end of the movie, they say like, as we are hearing, this is happening, and then at the end, obviously, what they said was happening, people being alive and well, didn't end up happening. So like, even for us, as we are always going through sources, like with the coaching stuff now, you and I both at the moment, like, how does that feel for you watching this from that perspective? And then just anything else you want to add.
Well, what's that famous saying? It's better to be second and right than first and wrong. And we learned that.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
All right, Scoop, give us your thoughts after listening to us who did, media communications and Shane's thoughts on, that. And also, I know you've done media too, so I'm really excited to hear your thought process on it.
I have, yeah. So, well, first and foremost, I apologize. My thoughts are not going to be that detailed compared to what Brandon just gave us for the last 45 minutes.
Yep.
But I mean, again, like you just mentioned, and to go into, I'll start with what you said about the sports side of things, because, again, I'm constantly, being asked by people or talking to you guys or whatever about, this, and like the closest thing that I've come to like something where that's actually like consequential. The closest that I've come is a few years ago. I learned that a sports athlete had COVID, and he wasn't supposed to have been. It wasn't supposed to have been leaked who his identity was. Like that's the closest that I've ever come to that. So this movie I've done pales in comparison to anything regarding this movie. So I just want to make that 100% clear, that I am not in any way trying to compare the experiences. But it does, you do know that even on a micro level, it's good and important to just kind of be, like you said, second and right rather than first and wrong. Because again, it's a not a slippery slope. Isn't what I'm trying to go for, but it's 2:00. It's a precedent is what I was going for. And one thing you don't want to do is, even on the smallest thing, if you're trying to make it in this area, one thing you don't want to do is set a bad precedent for yourself, because, another thing that you always hear is that, a reputation takes forever to build and 1 moment to destroy. And, one thing you don't want to do is, in the process of doing that, because, you get, one black mark on you can really not only be bad for you, but moreover and far more importantly, be bad for the situation and covering your potentially people, affected by it.
Right.
And, and that's one thing that always bothers me when I see people in sports, like, sending things out and saying, certain things about, this player, apparently is this, or this player, is, fortunately, usually it's about something that's, compared to this, is fairly mild, like a player getting traded or somebody getting hired or whatever. Fortunately, it's usually something like that, which again, pins and needles compared to this. But again, even those things, there's something that, it could be, let's say that their child has social media and their child finds out about something that, before, the parent does, and, they have to deal with that. Like there are things that there are ramifications that can happen if you butcher a story like that. And then I think one thing that I'm surprised hasn't come up yet that I have to mention in this day and age is TMZ.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. Yeah.
And just how they have rapidly somehow become the foremost breaker of these massive stories. Like, that's how I learned that Kobe Bryant died.
Yeah.
That's how we all learned it. Yeah, TMZ.
Okay, well, I didn't know that. But that's how I learned that Kobe Bryant died. I'll never forget where I was, and that exact moment. I was going back to my dorm in Sarah Hall. I was on my scooter. I had to call my mom. I couldn't speak for a half hour. And just like the fact that and this is all that was all happening back then when there wasn't social media, there wasn't X, there wasn't, or Twitter, as you old heads continue to call it. There wasn't, things like that where you got your information right or wrong on a moment's notice.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's like, when I think of, we're talking about journalistic integrity, one of the four faces of that I could think of is Walter Cronkite.
Yeah.
And, his famous, whether it was over, the Kennedy assassination, he had some of the biggest, to use my own nickname here, he had some of the biggest scoops in American history. And I just, it's to actually tie it back to the movie, the fact that, because you mentioned, you said the smartest guy in the movie the I forget how you phrased it, but you mentioned Peter Jennings. Mm-hmm. I will say, the hell was the guy's name? There was one character who multiple times was basically saying, "Hey, people are actually are at stake here. Be careful about this."
It was a couple people, but the one that sticks out to me, it was Bader, but it was also the Frenchman.
Okay,
the Frenchman. The Frenchman was. I think that might have been anyway. But the Frenchman was very much one of those characters because he was also on the outside because he wasn't same as Marianne, not really part of the news team, just that news team for that moment.
Yeah. Very
clear about be careful. Also, yeah, a lot of them were that way, but they also had to think really quickly, I guess, is the overall.
Yeah, it was this. A lot of this was more, I think, based on lack of precedent and disorganization more than anything.
100%.
More than truly irresponsible. But it is, like you said, it does show, the if you want to say how far we've come, quote unquote, in 53, 54 years. But on the other side of it, you've got the stuff that that I've mentioned, which is like some of the improvements that we've made, so to speak. Open up all these other cans of worms because now you've got if you've been like me and tried to break into sports media at any time in the last decade, you hear people talk about how these sort of newspaper articles and these things that are, I mean, I'll ask, when was the last time any of us opened a, what do you call it? Like a paper, like a hard copy newspaper. Like, I can't tell you the last time I opened one of those. And so like the columns and things of that nature, it's just a very different media world, for lack of a better phrase. And so, and with that, you don't get, and these things like social media, you don't get, a situation where, somebody's checking it over. Somebody's, making sure that it sounds the way that it should. Somebody's, helping with fact checking or whatever. Like these
editors, these jobs,
editors
that don't exist.
Yeah. Like it's your mind to your screen to the world. And
right at that time, especially, right? And so that's the difference.
Yeah. So you get all those things where, I think it, as they say, usually with, everything that technology can make possible, it also will create a pit, almost usually close to a 1-to-1 ratio. A problem solved is a pitfall somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And so with all those things said, I think this also kind of works as an interesting time capsule to kind of show what the covering of a story of this magnitude looked like. Because again, this is a real thing that not only a real thing that happened, but a lot of the characters were based off of or were real people themselves. Mm-hmm. And I think, and also one thing I will say is that with some of these major story things that we've done this year, this very much included, well, not this year, this past 12 months, I'll say, because this year is 12 days old. But I really appreciate and enjoy.
I would say,
yeah, I really appreciate and enjoy the fact that on each of these, you've either had people who were connected to the event or who, knew people who were connected to the event or were interviewed about it. Like, I'm glad that they are not just, that they're actually going to the, for lack of a better way of putting it, to the sources. And I appreciate seeing that rather than just, people who have studied it secondhand or things of that nature. Like, I think there's no substitute for actually getting as close to firsthand accounts as possible. Mm-hmm. So, right. Which actually in a way actually kind of ties back into what we're talking about in the first place. But no, I think that there was a strong, because I remember you saying this is going to be a really difficult one. Like, this was going to be more difficult than what we watched before, or however you phrased it. And I mean, you weren't wrong. This was not in any way a light watch. But I also think that it's done in a manner where I think this is something that ages well in terms of, like, I think you're often going to be able to see a situation where this is, I don't want to say compared to, because every situation like this is so unique and so awful. But I think it's, people will say, oh, what is this what is this like today, or how does our media kind of, how would this have gone today, type of thing.
Right, and obviously if it would have happened today, it would have been way different, obviously.
Yeah. But I think it's just, that's one of the things that about these movies that are obviously not the movie itself from so long ago, but that was set so long ago. It's one thing that I sort of juxtapose in my head is things like that, as I was doing before with the social media thing.
What was your emotion watching this like? That's something I'm really curious about.
Yeah.
Like, what was your emotion watching it like?
I mean, they were multifaceted. I think there was obviously the swing of emotions from finding out what we did about the original report about the result, if you want to say, of that rescue effort.
Right, but just the film as a whole, what were your emotions like?
Well, that's the reason why I'm doing it this way, is because this movie was so chaotic emotionally that you can't really sum it down to one emotion, I don't think.
I hear that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's why I'm doing this, because I think that with everything from that to what we thought was actually true to the sort of frustration at times about how certain things were being handled, but also like trying to also think back to, okay, you have to think about these sometimes. Like I tell people this at times as well, because we know this, a lot of people love to go back and judge history these days. Mm-hmm. And I tell people when they ask me things, I'm like, okay, you got to understand, you can't answer 1864 questions with 2026 answers. Going back to how things would have been in that setting, I understand why this happened, or I at least see why this happened. I could completely disagree with it, but you got to understand what it was in that situation. Right. It's easy to sit here on a phone and computer with a place to sleep. It's easy to answer things this way from a place of comfort rather than all of that. So I think similarly, I also was trying to not reconcile, but also was trying to keep that in mind as well, where it's, well, okay, I have they are having all these things. Like, this is quite literally about as much of an unprecedented situation as you can get. And
it never happened before in the history of media journalism.
Well,
Never.
that's my point. So these people are not only reacting in real time to a crazy ass situation and an awful, set of circumstances for many people, but also, excuse me, all these first time questions from as macro as how do we handle this to as micro as, every little intricate, like actual physical situation that can manifest, among itself from, okay, who's going to handle this? How's this going to do? How are we going to, this, that, and the other, like actual physical, tangible things. So I think that, and also I agree with somebody who said it here. I can't recall who it was. It might have been, I'm pretty sure it was Shane, but somebody who said along the lines of, I think that the truncated type of this film, time-wise, where it was only about 95 minutes,
Right.
kind of helped you feel the intensity and the pressure that they were under from a time time constraint. And
I love that is all like what all of us have said that in some way, shape, or form, and I think that really matters here. I think that's one of the things we love about it.
Yeah, and I think that, we've said this about music, we've said this about movies, we've said this about books, we've said this about, any form of consumptible media, if that's even a word, consumable media.
Consumable, yep.
Is that some of the best that exist in any form are the ones that can make you feel things that the writer or actor or whoever was trying to convey without having to be told it directly.
Mm-hmm.
Like they say, show me, don't tell me, I think is what they'll usually say.
That's the phrasing. Yep.
Journalism term, yep.
Yep. And so I think that was an element where they were able to do that without you kind of, like, you were realizing it, but you weren't realizing it, if you know what I mean. And
100%.
so, and and that's why I really couldn't give you a crisp answer or a concise answer.
I love that. I love that is your answer, because I think it shows. Just like
chaos.
It shows the chaos, but also show what Brandon said in the way of feeling like you're in the newsroom, swinging from one emotion to another, and that's the way you described it, even as a viewer, right? And so, I love that that's your answer, and I think that is actually more concise than just saying, like me being like I was just taught the whole time, because I was, but like I think it's a lot more concise. I absolutely agree.
Yeah, because there were so many things from just whether it was the macro events that were basically like the prime focuses of the film, but everything down from like, the handling of this situation, the way that this person said this, and kind of just the people who were, the ones trying to, make the action happen, and then the ones who were also trying to be the brains of the operation at the same time. But again, like it's just, and then bringing it into a situation like today where we've, again, I talked about the social media thing, but also going, what I said about the, second and right rather than, Brandon said that, but what I was adding about the, just the way that people kind of, again, it's not the best phrase to say revisionist history, but the way people try and plant themselves in history and say, oh, they would have definitely done this, or they would have definitely done that. Okay, I'd like to see you actually go into that situation in the exact scenario in which they were, and tell me how easy doing those things or just knowing those things would have been. Because not
even close. Yeah, no way.
And that's something where I think sometimes people in this day and age, I think sometimes, and again, what's another thing that I keep throwing cliches out my face, but, talk about, those, you have to learn from history to not repeat it.
Yep.
And that's why I'm pissed this movie hasn't been, or this story hasn't been told to freaking anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I'm really glad that you showed this, like this, if it's not going to be my top at the end of the year, it's going to be one of my top for sure.
It's going to be up there for me.
Yeah.
Yes, come on.
But,
but I'm not going to be giving it a letter grade like Shane does. I don't have the qualifications for that. But I'll stick a solid 8 on it for sure.
Yes, come on.
But
Well, you know what the best part is too, Rob. We were talking about like this versus Nightcrawler. It's also significant. It's also significant because
I don't know what a Nightcrawler is.
Because
just the movie we did earlier in the year.
Because
Okay.
Peter,
I don't think I was here for that.
Yeah, not
It's okay,
yet.
don't
I
worry
don't
about
think.
Sounds like a bed bug. Anyway, go on.
But it's funny
It
because
sounds like the X-Men character.
that's what
What
I
X-Men
think when I hear it.
What X-Men character?
Nightcrawler.
Yeah,
He's a
Nightcrawler.
really weird
There's an
character.
actual
You should look him up.
There's an actual Nightcrawler character.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really cool.
But the funny thing is that
I don't know what Nightwing.
you also tied it into, this is also perfect, that we get towards the end of the football season with this movie, and you get Peter Sarsgaard, who is one of the main actors in this, because his brother-in-law is Jake Gyllenhaal, who starred in Nightcrawler. So
Do you guys want to know the other options I had this year?
I'll be straight up. The only reason I know who Jake Gyllenhaal is because of Taylor Swift. Go on.
That's fair. Fair, but it's not great. Do you guys want to hear the other options that we're going to do in recent years, in next few years,
well,
that I'm debating? Because
That
I was debating.
We're gonna do in recent years. What is this? Back to the
Well,
Future?
we're gonna do in the next few years. Jesus Christ, it's getting late. Okay, this is why it's
Getting
called for
late,
Black
my ass.
Hours.
It's almost 3 a.m. and I got an appointment.
It's
at 9.
11:30 for me, man. I'm not even. You're in the future. I'm not even there. I'm not even on the next day
we're
yet.
living in Tuesday. You're still on Monday.
Okay. The other options were Barbie, because I want Brandon to see that movie so bad.
If I have to, if we do that show or that movie, I'm not watching it because I've seen it twice already.
Okay, yeah. And then one that I'm really debating next year, like heavily, is Piece by Piece, the Lego Pharrell Williams movie.
There's a Lego movie.
I love that movie. It's a Lego movie about Pharrell Williams' life.
Oh, that's fun.
Literally, it's pretty fun. So, but the thing is,
I thought it was gonna be. I thought you were gonna say it was like the Emojis movie.
no, I hate that movie. I hate that movie with
Me
a
too.
passion. That movie made
Me
me
too.
more depressed than I already was at the time, which says a lot about the
God.
movie.
God.
Okay, so and here's the thing: I was begging Shane to watch this over the summer so that he could pick it.
Which one?
Because
Piece by Piece?
no, this movie, September 5.
September
I
5th.
told-
Oh, 5,
I
sorry.
told him the moment I came out of the theater, I was like, dude, can you watch this and pick it? Because I knew he was gonna like it. So I was like, damn it, do I actually have to pick this to make you guys watch it? I did, and I'm glad I did because I love this movie. But
I'm glad you did too.
Yeah.
But I also have a really. I'm also it's still even after. I'm gonna make my mom watch this, so I'm probably gonna watch it a third time. But this movie's hard. This movie's just really hard for me. It's really hard, and it brings up all these emotions that I felt, all these great emotions, because that's why you go to a movie theater to experience emotions. It just brings back all those memories, and they're tough. It's tough. It's really tough, but I'm glad you guys enjoyed this. I really am, because I knew you guys would as a whole, like as a group.
Yeah.
But I also was like, damn, I really hope they do, because if they don't, then my intention of picking it would have been awful. And there was an intention to it. So I'm very glad that this is going to be high on everyone's list at the end of the year. So,
Yes.
All right. Well, you know what? Honestly, I love that we covered the movie for a long time, because this is also one of the movies that we deserve to talk about for a long time, because it directly correlates to what we're doing on the show in a lot of ways. But thank you guys all for staying up with us and enjoying just good movie talk, good football talk.
Yeah.
The good news is, guys, I don't know I never know what the specific time is I think it normally is like 10:30 your time the next 2 weeks, because the start time is like 6:30. So it's either like
I don't know what you're
9:30
talking about.
for
the
next week,
playoff
because-
game.
for the playoff games, because the late game starts at 6:30
Oh, on Sunday?
on Sunday. Yeah, it's really
That would be 9. That'd be 9:30 our time.
Yeah, that's fine. So it's going to be super early for you guys the next 2 weeks.
Thank God.
So that's going to be nice.
And we're still going to find a way to still be on at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This is how we do things here. It is Golf Football After Hours after all. Well, for Shane, for Brandon, for Scoop, for myself, Robert, thank you for joining, or for myself, Robert, I should say. Not being clear enough because I'm tired. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we're all exhausted. It's fine.
We're all exhausted. Thank you for spending your last 3 hours with us. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you Sunday when we finally get to figure out who will be competing for a shot at the Super Bowl for Championship Sunday. So we will find that out in short order. We will see you. I guess it wouldn't be Sunday night. It would be more, well, Sunday night for you guys, but Sunday kind of afternoon to close night-ish on the West Coast.
Yeah, must be nice for you guys. We're still going to be tired.
All right. Well, peace out, everybody. We'll see you on Sunday after Rams versus Bears.
Have a good morning, y'all.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Have a good morning. Peace out, everybody.
See you, everybody.